Good evening, everyone, to the Fitchburg Common Council meeting for December 12, 2023. The first is to call to the order to the meeting. And second, please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Allen.
Present.
Mayor Radafrada.
Here.
Alder Gerhardt.
Here.
Alder Herbst.
Here.
Alder Jetzer.
I am here with cake for the mayor's birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
Alder Maldonado is absent with excuse.
No, he's there.
I'm sorry, Joe. Alder Strassman.
I don't even remember emailing you guys.
Alder Udell.
Here.
Alder Wheeler.
Here.
You do have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. So next we move to item 4 in the agenda for public appearances for non-agenda items and new appointments. So first I'm going to go with the mayoral appointments. So we have 2 mayoral appointments. They are due to vacancies. The first is Mike Croft for the Landmark Preservation Commission. The term will expire on April 15, 2025. So I need a...
Second.
Okay. So, hi, Mike.
Hello there. Hello, everyone.
So,
Thank you, Mayor.
tell us why you want to be in this committee, and you know what I mean. And if council members have any question, please go ahead.
Thank you. I have been a citizen for over 30 years, and I have an interest in historic properties and architecture. My property was put on the National Register in 1993 when we first moved to Fitchburg, and I have served on this commission about 2 decades ago or so. So I've gotten older, our properties have gotten older, so that is an interest of mine.
Any question for Mike? No? Okay. All those in favor of approving Mike Croft for the Landmark Preservation Commission, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carried. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Mike.
So the second appointment is Gerard Buckner for the Healthy Neighborhood Advisory Committee. The term expired on April 15, 2025. It's also due to a vacancy, and Gerard is he's a member at large. Okay, so he lives in District 4, but okay.
Hi, yeah, my name is Gerard Buckner. Thank you for having me.
Mayor, I'd move approval.
Oh,
Second.
sorry.
All good. Good. All right. Yeah, so very happy to be here today. This is kind of, community is me. So I have a long background in working in community centers and being involved in community, heavily involved in DEI in the work that I do for a full time. And yeah, this is just what I do. I'm a father. I love community. It's me basically. So very happy to be part of this and hope to continue the role.
Thank you. Any question, comments? Gabriel.
I just want to say I know Gerard through his science outreach work, and he's fantastic and really has the pulse on the community and also on nonprofit work. So I think he'll be a great addition to the Grants Committee.
Thanks, Gabriel.
Thank you. So, any other comment, question? No? Okay. All those in favor of approving Gerard Buckner for the Healthy Neighborhood Advisory Committee, say aye.
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 The motion carried. Thank you. So next we are moving to, we have another 3 people that want to speak in non-agenda items. The first one is Sue here? No?
She was registering.
Oh, she's registered, Sue Easterday. She lives in 2731 Osmusden, Fitchburg, and she distributes some comments to the council members, and she wishes to register only, and she's in support of matter 4. I don't know what 4 is. Okay.
May I?
Yes.
So the comments that you have in front of you look like this. These are submitted by Sue Easterday and Jay Hockmuth, who is also going to speak here during non-agenda items. I put a copy in front of each of your desks.
So the next person is Jay. So everyone has 3 minutes to speak when you, Jay is online, but for the people that, we have a lot of people that wish to speak today about several items. I'm going to call your name, and then you're going to come to the microphone, say your name, your address, and then you have 3 minutes to speak, okay? So first I'm going to go for another non-agenda item. Is where is Jay Hockmuth? Jay?
Hey, thank you for the opportunity to speak briefly tonight. Hopefully it won't take 3 minutes. The remarks that were handed out just momentarily ago, I just want to summarize a couple of key points in this. First of all, thank you very much for postponing until the January 9th meeting the review of and approval of the amendments to the traffic management process. This is greatly appreciated that you provided a little more time for public input on this matter, and thank you for doing that. We've had an opportunity now to look over some documentation the staff prepared in preparation for the January 9th meeting, and we agree with 7 of the 12 major TMP changes that have been proposed by staff, and there are 5 other changes that we think need some modification, and one of them we hope should not be made. I don't want to go into the details of these matters this evening. I just want to talk about a procedural aspect. Actually, 2 of them. Given the background, please ask staff to post on the city website by December 14th the pros and cons and staff recommendations for the following TMP amendments, and they're listed in item 2 in the handout. And again, I don't want to get into the details of this. I just hope that staff can take a look at this and provide some commentary and some recommendations. We had an opportunity to meet with the city administrator and the city engineer the other day, and we've had a very good meeting on these points, and we're looking forward to additional dialogue trying to work through these matters. Secondly, we'd appreciate if you would ask staff to post on the city website by January 5th a response to the comments submitted at the December 14th TTC meeting and the December 18th Board of Public Works meeting, where this matter will be on the agenda and there will be comments and a dialogue by members of those bodies in hopes they'll be making recommendations to you for consideration on January 9th. So we again appreciate the opportunity to appear here tonight, offer these procedural insights, and available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. So next we move to another non-agenda item. I am calling Tom Clowder. Tom.
Boy, does this look familiar. Ooh. Tom Clutter. I reside at 2583 Norwich Street, the city of Fitchburg. I'm here to talk to you as a retired police officer from the city of Fitchburg. I was here for 26 years. I worked under 2 chiefs. And here's what it's about. The first department we had was in the city was, believe it or not, some of you don't even know, was off Osmondson Road. You went off Osmondson and you took a right. Right now UW Health is in there, and we were under the fire department. From that department, we obviously outgrew that. And then we went to the west side of the fire department. And if you go down Lacey Road, you'll see 3 smaller garage doors. That was the police department on that side of the fire department. We were there for years. At the time that was built, We talked about another story on top, and it never happened. We just had that one half of the building where your fire chief sits right now is where our police chief was. We outgrew that building and we came here. That was number 3. This building was built for the future. This building came under Doug Morset, Mayor Morset. He wanted everybody in one building. When I was hired in 1976, I forgot to tell you, not that you wanted to know, but when I was hired in 1976, I was hired over a desk at the City Hall that no longer is there. That part of the building's been taken down. I know you're about to work on a new police department, and I wish you luck. I don't think anybody here is against it that I've heard. I know you're 35 million and you're going to go to 50 or whatever. That's a tough decision. The teen center, I'm not against it. I just think it can wait. Also, if I was mayor, I would have many meetings from now until you broke ground every other month. Every other month, I'd have a meeting to inform the public of the police department. That's how we did it too when we built the library. I started the library and we had meetings constantly. The last meeting I went to, and I don't blame the city, it was busy, but the last meeting I went to for the police department, it was terrible and there just was nobody there. If we took away the staff and you took away the police department employees, there was no one there. My other comment on that is you should have, Paul Woodard, who I know, he was around when I was around, you should have an easel with that police department, especially now, Mayor, when they come in to pay their taxes, they can see the picture. They can see what it's about. They can look at it. Put it on an easel. Let people see it when they come in to pay. Not that they want to pay. I don't want to pay my taxes either, but, not that you want to, but the fact is what a great way to get it to the public. When they enter the building, they can ask questions now. You're going to say people at the front desk don't have time. Send them downstairs. Send them to the cop shop. Let them answer the questions. Okay.
Your time is out.
Can I have 2 more seconds?
2 more.
Some of you don't want the firing range, and you're going to downplay it. Be careful. Be careful. I have a concealed carry. I go to Oregon to shoot. I'd rather come here to shoot, and I'll pay you. You will get money if the chief, and I think he'll do it. He'll have Oregon, Verona, McFarland, U.S. Marshal. Let them shoot here. Charge them. Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your input. Okay, so I think we are done with the non-agenda items, and now we are moving to the public hearing. So, do you want to mention about?
Yeah, as you've opened the public hearing, for anyone here that's speaking in regards to the Quarry Vista minor comp plan amendment, based upon the amended plans that have been submitted, staff will be recommending later in the meeting that this item actually be postponed until February 13th for action. So I just wanted to be sure that everybody knew that as they were testifying.
Okay, thank you. So now I'm going to open the public hearing on Ordinance 2023-0-19 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-05-23, adopting and recommending the fall 2023 amendment to the Comprehensive Plan amending map 4.3 future land use plan map and figure 7.1 future land use map in the North Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan for property location along Lacey Road, specifically from IC, that is industrial commercial, LDR, low density residential, and PC, parks and conservancy, to IG, that is industrial general, low density residential, and parks and conservancy. So I am open the public hearing, and we have a lot of people that wishes to speak, so we are going to start with this. Okay, so the first person that I'm going to call is Brett Parisol.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. So you have to say your name, address, and 3 minutes.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Brett Pariseau. I reside at 6259 Summit View Drive in Corey Vista neighborhood. If you'll please open the Payne and Doyle comprehensive plan I passed out to page 3, you'll see a 6-area area denoted as Woodland Conservancy in the southwest corner. I have highlighted important sentences throughout this document pertaining to the woodland. This Woodland Conservancy is part of the North Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Comprehensive Plan shown on page 5. If you go through the commentary, perhaps the two most important ones are on page 9, it states this old growth 6-acre remnant woodland site will be undisturbed by quarry operations and the installation of adjacent public and private improvements. If you flip to page 12, the document discusses, quote, the transfer and management plan for the Uplands Wood Conservancy area. These protected old growth woods were removed with southward quarry expansion down to Lacey Road, as shown by aerial photography available on Access Dane and in the Payne and Dolan presentation last Wednesday, which we are very grateful to meet with Clint and with Bill. With the woods gone, the industrial park expands by 6 acres, allowing a proposed new commercial road connecting to Lacey. If you would then please refer to the one-page handout, figure 2, as a picture of the beautiful hillside that we see from our neighborhood. And I'd like you to note how close it is to the central park of the neighborhood. We've been calling this the Hammersley Hill. So, Mayor and Alders, I think you really stand at a moment where you can make a dramatic improvement and change to not only this part of Fitchburg, but all of Fitchburg as well. Attractive cities preserve woodland with hiking and biking trails because everyone wants to live there and work there. These are the reasons all of us moved to the Corey Vista neighborhood to access to these trails. The Corey Ridge Recreational Area is a gem. Imagine a dark skies woodland conservancy sweeping down from the south of the Corey Vista neighborhood, past Lacey Road, down to the future South Stoner Prairie neighborhood, and then sweeping east all the way through Fitchburg. It doesn't have to be that wide, but you could have miles of hiking trails. Every neighborhood would want to be against this. Every business would want to be against it. When I say against it, I mean near it, because people love this. And progressive cities like Denver, Salt Lake, Austin, all do this. If you want to compete, this is something that you should do. And our area next to the neighborhood is the linchpin connecting to the Corey Vista Recreation Area, which is a rare gem. And you'll hear more about this in other presentations. So please, I ask you to consider enlarging that woodland conservancy, which we propose, between the Corey Vista neighborhood and the industrial park, preferably by another 6 acres in compensation for the lost woodland. I think that by working together with the neighbors and what you'd like to accomplish with that industrial park, we can come to a reasonable compromise that benefits all of Fitchburg. Finally, I'll conclude by, if you look again to figure 1 and figure 2 on this one-page handout, we calculated the approximate parks and conservancy from the current future use plan, and you can read about that at your leisure. And all we're really asking for is this consideration for what we had hoped to achieve when we first moved to the neighborhood, with preservation of the current topography, including what we call the Hammersley Hill, which is actually the highest point around. I feel if you went out there and you saw the amazing 360-degree view, which goes beyond Blue Mounds to the west, well beyond downtown Fitchburg to the east and the north and the south. You can see everything. If you went up there and took a look with me, you would agree this is worth preservation as a future hiking point of interest and a woodland conservancy with hiking trails. Thank you very much for your time. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. So the next person is Reed Rodenkirch. He wishes to, speak. I don't know if in support or in opposition.
Yes, I wanted to add to the comment just made. My name is Reed Rodenkirk. Good evening. I live in Fitchburg at 626 Summit View Drive, just west of the area we are discussing now. As pointed out a moment ago, the past land planning for Quarry Vista area, which was approved in 2018, has been a failure. The promised preservation and protection of upland wooded areas has not been done. In fact, there's no longer any woodland left to be made in woodland conservancy or an environmental corridor. The trees have all been cut down, Lacey Road has been built, and the quarry rock has been blasted and crushed into gravel, sold, and hauled away. Well, what can we do? Water over a dam. Too bad. Sorry. But no, we can regroup and make a strong effort now to protect, preserve what remains of what was promised. We need to keep as much of the remaining green space as possible, and not only the woodland and trees that are left, but also the area's topography, the hills and the slopes. Now, Payne and Dolan recently has made an effort to more closely meet the past promises and goals, but we need to continue this cooperation and make sure that as much of what is left is preserved and enhanced. We must save any remaining trees and the existing natural landscape wherever we can. I hope that Payne and Dolan understands this and continues to work and developing a new and true environmental corridor which will connect to and add to the existing Fitchburg bike and hiking trails and green space, which already exists in just north of this area. And I would volunteer to work with Payne and Dolan to help them respond to the neighborhood concerns, and look forward to what they will come up with. Thank you.
No, thank you. So next is Matthew Roberts. You don't want to speak. You registered to
speak.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, just briefly. Yeah, I'd like to. Matthew Roberts, 6258 Summit Drive. As someone who was attracted to that area in 2019, when we purchased that lot and built a home really right adjacent to the area that's being described, I was really excited by the plan that was provided. I was excited about the possibility of conserving some of that woodland that has now since been removed. So I just want to second some of the comments that were made earlier in support of them. And just as somebody who's like an outdoor enthusiast, I think I can speak on behalf of a lot of this type of person in the area that's attracted to live there. I think the home values will be higher. I think that the value of the property will be higher, and it'll attract so many people to the area if you can support some of the ideas that were proposed earlier about sort of maintaining this woodland feature that goes between Quarry Ridge and goes south across Lacey Road. So thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Christine Richin. I don't know, you wish to speak? Okay.
Hi, thank you. My name is Kristen Riching. I live at 2709 Turnstone Circle. And I would just like to echo a lot of the comments made already by my neighbors. Quarry Ridge and this kind of environmental character, this natural green space that already exists in the neighborhood was something that attracted us to this area and is the main reason why we moved there in the first place. And I guess I would just like to express my appreciation for this revised plan. I do appreciate the expansion of the proposed green space relative to the previous plan. However, as my neighbors have commented, I would like to see the preservation of this green space maximized to facilitate all of the outdoor activities that we've heard, hiking and biking. This is kind of a unique defining feature of the neighborhood and poses an opportunity for connection to future development south of Lacey Road. And so I see that as something that is kind of fundamental to preserve in the context of that neighborhood. But I also think that the opportunity to have this green space kind of helps to serve as a protective barrier, so kind of adjacent to the residential with this industrial zoning, industrial general zoning that's going to be adjacent to that. So I look at this as an opportunity to serve as kind of a protective environmental barrier as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one, Benjamin Bass. He wishes to speak and answer questions. So.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Bass. I live at 2709 Turnstone Circle, also in the Quarry Vista neighborhood. I also want to echo comments that have been made already. The original plan, or the original amendment that we had seen before, definitely reduced green space dramatically, exposed the neighborhood to the problems of being adjacent to industrial sites, and I think Payne and Dolan has done a good job of listening to our concerns and working with us, and they made a proposed amendment to the amendment on December 6th that we talked through with them, and I thought that they did a lot to address those concerns, and I really appreciate a lot of that. But definitely, I think the key things here are maintaining that buffer between the neighborhood and the industrial sites is going to be very important, and green space is that buffer. And maintaining the green space that we have, both because of the value as a buffer and as a connection to the future residential developments, and also because it gives us a reason to live there. Like, we also moved to that neighborhood because of the trails. And like, I've helped build the trails at Quarry Ridge. I've worked in the bike industry. I've been out on those trails with national champions and world champion mountain bikers. It's a great area. It's something unique in the area, and if we can build that green space corridor from the existing Quarry Ridge trails and connect those south into the future developments of South Stoner Prairie, we can bring a lot of value to those neighborhoods and really give them something unique to attach to and something unique to connect our neighborhoods all together. And I'm really hopeful that we can make that happen.
Thank you very much. So next one is Robert Binger. He wishes to speak in opposition. So I don't know, Robert.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you. My name is Robert Binger. I reside at 6281 Stonegate Drive in the Quarry Vista subdivision as well, about a block away. So when we purchased our lot, we were informed that that quarry area was going to be extended into additional residential housing. And if you look at the road at the end of our street, there's just a dead end and a sign there. And so it's obvious that that was what was going to happen. Obviously, having spoken to some people that were part of building some homes there and the development of that subdivision, it seemed like the cost of actually making more residential was much higher than what maybe when they originally developed that Quarry Vista subdivision, there were a lot of cost overruns from my understanding. And so they understand that if they want to make more residential, low density residential as it was originally planned, those costs were going to be way higher than what originally they thought it was going to be. So I also echo my neighbors in that we understand there's going to be less residential, but then let's make it more of the green space and keep it beautiful the way it should be, because that will be less expensive. You are still meeting the goal of not having the expense of putting in additional streets, curb, gutter, sewer, that sort of thing. So, I'm in opposition of the original plan, but again, with Payne and Dolan going to those meetings, very encouraged with their willingness to work with us. So, just kind of hoping that would happen to keep the green space. I know one of the nice things about that area is the ability to go out and walk and enjoy nature. And that's one of the things that my wife likes to do in the evening time. And she always comes back telling me about how she heard the owls again. And so she's very concerned about losing trees and not being able to hear the wildlife. Thank you.
Thank you. So next one is Julie Wolf. No? Oh, you're in, okay, you're only registered in opposition. Okay. Okay, so next one is Tim Bugney, I don't know how, he wishes to speak. I don't know, he's on position of support.
Yeah, I didn't check anything there.
Yeah.
My name is Tim Buney. I live at 2716 Turnstone Circle, and yeah, when we moved into that neighborhood, of course, the larger plan included basically where the quarry is. In that area somewhere was an area park, of course, that would include baseball diamond, soccer field. Actually, there was a sledding hill proposed, and that park space was going to serve not only our neighborhood, but also the new development planned for south of Lacey as well. So, so of course, when we saw these plans from Payne and Dolan, this was a huge change, right? So and I appreciate that Payne and Dolan has expanded the green space around there. I think it's absolutely critical that we maintain that, because that will give access to the new development proposed south of Lacey, access to Quarry Ridge Recreation Area, which is going to be really the highlight of that area now without the additional park space, right? And as others have mentioned, that serves hikers, mountain bikers, snowshoeing in the winter, and then also there's a pond there, and I've actually seen people out there ice fishing too. So, so the new green space, of course, provides the corridor from that South Lacey development. But I think the other important piece of that is that the green space moves up against the mountain biking trails. Of course, those mountain biking trails not only serve people that enjoy mountain biking, but also all the local schools for the NICA groups also train there. And so, you know, I mean, one of the things I was thinking about when that first came through is trying to think about all those kids out there training for mountain biking, and you have industrial right up against the trail system, which of course that's not a good idea. So I think maintaining that green space is also critical to you know, maintaining the nature of the Quarry Ridge Recreation Area too. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your input. So next we are moving to Karen Sager. Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. My name is Karen Sager. I live at 6259 Summit View Drive. Among my concerns with the proposed changes to the comprehensive development plan is the conversion of 7 acres, or 25% of the original 28-acre industrial park within the Payne and Doyle parcel of the quieter industrial commercial to industrial general, which is along the border nearest to our neighborhood. The industrial commercial designation serves as both a visual and auditory barrier to the things that the industrial general commonly brings, including bright lights, higher traffic, and increased noise. The original plan strategically placed the industrial commercial designation along the residential area, and this is a disappointing loss. I would like to see the quieter industrial commercial designation return as a buffer to the industrial general plots, in addition to the parks and conservancy acres with trees that were originally promised. Thank you.
Thank you. So next, Clint Wenninger from Payne and Dolan. Clint, are you there?
Yes, I
Okay,
am. Thank
okay.
you. Took me a second to unmute. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm Clint with Payne and Dolan. We're the applicant for this comprehensive plan amendment. And, in response to the public hearing and the meeting we had at the Plan Commission, we did hear what the neighbors' concerns were and led us to developing a revised plan and presenting that and pushing that forward. In addition, we had a neighbor meeting last week and sat down and talked to them, and we thought we had a very good dialogue with them, and look forward to working with staff and Plan Commission and the Common Council as we push this forward to the new revised meeting schedule that was proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. So I think we don't have any other participant for this public hearing. So I think we're done. Yeah. So Jay,
I asked Deanna to come up just to answer
Okay.
2 quick questions.
Jay, would it be more appropriate to have the conversation on the agenda item or during the
Well,
agenda item later?
I don't know. I mean, all the people are here, so
Okay.
I just had 2 quick questions, which will be very easy to answer. The first one is, according to your memo, you're asking the council to postpone this until February, right?
This is true.
And at that time, we would have another public hearing?
We shall.
Okay. So plan to come back in February. The other question that I had is, given the way this is being laid out, so this is just a plan commission. This is just a comp plan amendment at this stage.
It is, sir.
And there's a lot of detailed stuff in here. Are you anticipating that when this comes in for a rezoning request, that you'd be pushing them toward a PDD?
I would not anticipate that this would go to PDD. I would anticipate we would rezone to an appropriate industrial zone.
Okay. It's just with the process with the PDD gives a little more input into the process from the city standpoint. So I since this is coming back in February, maybe you can talk with the developer and see if they'd be interested in going that route, because I think that might give the residents a little more comfort being able to, just be more involved in the process.
I'm certain we can explore that.
Excellent. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So I will close the public hearing. So thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate your input. So next we're moving to another public hearing. For the public hearing ordinance 2023-0-20 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-06-23 adopting and recommending the fall 2023 amendment to the comprehensive plan, amending map 4.3 future land use plan map and figure 1.3 growth model and text on pages 8 to 10 to 8 to 12 on the McGaw Park neighborhood plan for property associated with 5335 Nobel Drive, specifically from governmental institution to medium density residential and high density residential. Do we have anyone? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't have your. Oh, here are you, David. So we have one person, David Fahey.
You want me to speak now or
Yeah, you can speak. Yeah, now.
This is a 5-acre lot in Highfield Reserve that we are moving to high density and medium density residential. Ideally, we would have some multifamily and hopefully a school or daycare. We still have a lot of work to do once we get approval tonight. I guess I can answer questions.
Okay, so I think we're going to keep the question for the agenda item. Okay, thank you, David. Okay, so anyone else for this topic? Nope. So I am closing the public hearing for this ordinance too. Okay, so next we move to item 5 is the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, any question, comment?
I have one.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to remove the minutes.
Okay. So we take the minutes out? All those in favor? I need a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of taking? What?
Just a question on item D. Seems to be a heading with nothing under it. Public Safety and Human Services.
Yes. That happens when Public Safety and Human Services doesn't have anything on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Just keep the format the same.
So all those in favor of taking out the minutes, isn't it, Gabriela?
I think it's or approving everything but the minutes. Is that typically what we do?
Yeah, we are approving everything except the minute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Okay. What is?
Yes, I have a few changes, and I did send this to Tracy for clarity because it's kind of detailed. For item 10, P1A, so it's the police services facility update. There was no update by project engineer Paul Woodard at the last meeting, so I'd like to remove that phrase. Second, towards the bottom, the Huawei Technologies section, I find because we didn't go into closed session, I actually think the way it's worded is quite confusing. So my preference would be to remove basically bullets 7, 8, and 9 completely. So the entire thing would read 6, Resolution R21523, approving a settlement from Huawei Technologies, ... Motion to approve made by Udell, second by Allen, motion carried. Council did not go to closed session. And then it would immediately go to Resolution R23023. Because I think the way it's written right now, I think it's unclear. And then happy to, if anyone has any issues with that, I'm happy to talk about it. And then for the next item, the PFAS case one, I think that because of the nature of what we're deciding there, I think we should clarify what option B is in the minutes. So in addition to saying motion to amend to approve with option B, I think we should add the language from option B in there. So it'd say, after that, it would say directs and authorizes staff to opt out of the class on behalf of the city and authorizes the mayor and staff to sign any paperwork to take action to accomplish this. I just think it's important to clarify.
Second.
Okay.
So a couple of considerations, I think, in regards to the information under the Huawei settlement. I would recommend actually keeping 7 in there and 8, just as a reference to the fact that it was originally agended with a closed session having been available. I think it was clearly stated that council elected not to go into closed session. I get that the format is a little bit wonky, so to speak, but I think from the public's perspective, just knowing that the agenda wasn't necessarily modified as it relates to the minutes may be helpful, but ultimately that's a council consideration. And then
if we do that, I mean, I would prefer to put the motion to amend and the motion carried at the end of that, because I think it's really confusing when we say that it was carried and then we say closed session, good and go to closed session, because I just think that's confusing in terms of like reading through when I read through it, I was like, oh my gosh, the vote isn't reflected in this minutes, and it was just because I missed it because of the list. So if you would prefer to keep all that language, I'd prefer to move motion to approve made by Udell, second by Allen, motion carried, to the very end of that whole section, right before item 10.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that.
Yeah, you're fine. Tracy?
And then moving on to the PFAS claim, I assume, Tracy, that gets into the cost of publication of the minutes. We are charged by the word. based upon the publication. Obviously, the agenda was had both of the options noted in the packet as to what they were in the resolution, so folks can at least cross-reference that. I get what you're trying to say, and I'm not trying to be a miser with the money, so to speak, but there is just obviously a cost to when we publish the minutes, and we try to keep them concise.
But we can add that option B was we opt out from the.
Yeah, well, maybe.
That one is like 2 or 3 more words. You know what I mean? So
maybe instead I can make it so motion to amend to approve with option B to opt out of the class.
yeah.
Made by Alan, second by Gerhardt.
Yes, adding 3 more words, but it tells you what we did, Okay. And I want to tell you, I read those, the minutes in the newspaper. I found them sometime.
Thanks for bearing with me, everyone.
Okay, so what do we need? I need to do now?
I moved to approve the minutes with those changes.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes with the changes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Okay, so next we are moving to, item number 6, Administrator's report.
Good evening, everyone. Several announcements. I mentioned last meeting that the book drop at the library had been closed while a new sorter was installed. That work has been completed, and the book drop is now operational. Also from the library, a new little free library was installed recently in the Southdale neighborhood. Thank you to all of the staff and others who worked on that particular project. I think the little free library turned out quite nice. All of our resurfacing projects have been completed for the year. Any of the line painting or road striping will need to wait until spring when the weather is warmer again to allow for that work to be finalized. And also all of the sidewalk replacement work has been wrapped up in the city for this year. As many of you are all aware, tax bills are arriving in mailboxes this week. I know City Hall has had a number of visitors already today who are in paying their taxes. We are piloting a new tax payment software with Dane County and several other municipalities, so we do ask for residents' patience as we work out some of the kinks associated with that software. I think it's also important to note, as folks are looking at their tax bills, that in relation to the city of Fitchburg portion of the tax bill, obviously we are one of 4 taxing entities on the bill. The city of Fitchburg share went up 0.1%. The employee luncheon, which is held annually in December, will be taking place on Thursday, December 14th at 11:30 a.m. in Oak Hall. If you're able to attend, I invite you to attend. And finally, City Hall will be closed on December 22nd, December 25th, and January 1st. Obviously, this is the last council meeting of the year, as you all are probably aware. So however you choose to celebrate the end of the year, I wish you joy, peace, and relaxation.
You're not going to talk about the fire station, the Santa Claus?
I thought you were going to do
that. You have to...
Yeah, I can if you like.
Okay, Gabriela.
I was wondering, Tom Clutter's suggestion to put a easel with the police station
I like
vision.
That idea.
Is that something that we can look into?
I'll have a conversation with Chief Morales about that.
Okay, thanks.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now, thank you, Chad. Any other comment, question for Chad? No? Okay, so next we are moving to commissions as committees report, and we are going to start with Plan Commission. Gabriela.
Okay. Do I need to read the whole thing with the postponement, or just want to clarify?
Maybe the title and that's it.
Okay. I move to postpone Ordinance 2023-019 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 0523 to the February 6th council meeting.
Second.
13.
Oh, February 13th council meeting. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of postponing Ordinance 2023-019, say aye.
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 And opposed, the motion carries. Thank you. Oh, I had to remember that I have this too.
I'll move approval of ordinance 2023-020 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR 0623, adopting and recommending the fall 2023 amendment to the comprehensive plan, amending map 4.3 future land use plan map and figure 1.3 growth model and text on pages 8 to 10 to 8 to 12, 810 to 812 in the McGaw Park neighborhood plan for property associated with 5335 Nobel Drive, specifically from GI government institutional to MDR medium density residential and HDR high density residential.
Second.
Okay, can you explain, Gabriela, what it is? Or?
Yeah, so it's going to be a change to both the comp plan and the McGaw neighborhood plan. Essentially, the school that they're planning requested a smaller lot. They don't need as much space. I'm sorry.
St. Ambrose, which hasn't public been announced, is moving to Holy Name Seminary based, if you read the Madison Council. So they have chose to go elsewhere.
So you're making it smaller for a different...
Smaller for, hopefully we can attract...
like a Montessori or a daycare.
Yes. It should be lot 144. I think it says lot 1, but that's just a small correction.
So in replacing that's since that entire space is no longer needed, putting more housing into that so that the whole zoning had to change in order to accommodate that additional housing.
Did Plan Commission approve?
Yes.
Okay. So, David, do you want to add anything else or no?
I'll just answer questions unless...
Okay. Any question for David? No? Okay.
Just one quick one.
Okay.
Is there a potential user for that smaller site?
We are working on that. Well, that's our intent.
Yeah, so it's you don't have anybody waiting in the wings.
We need to circle back with them. There was some interest expressed.
Okay, groovy.
But we can't move forward unless we knew the zoning. If we didn't know the zoning, it's
Right.
hard to move forward. It's a chicken and egg. We will still have to go through a PDP for the site.
Yeah.
Got it.
Any other comment, question? Oh, Bill.
Yeah. Is there? So this is another new development that's got an awful lot of parking, and I guess new neighborhoods in 2023 plus with a lot of parking just seems unfortunate at best. What are we thinking for transit in the Highfield Reserve area?
We don't have anything right now. So I know what you're saying that, but this is maybe because this is why we have the parking lot, because we don't have the transit, the public transit. So yeah, I know. Any other comments? No. Okay, all those in favor of ordinance 2023-0-20 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Thank you.
And just last note, we meet next week on December 19th.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
Enjoy the holidays.
Thank you, David. Okay, so next we are moving to Board of Public Works. Who is going to do that? You, Bill, or Dave?
I can do it.
Okay. All right.
I'll move approval of Resolution R 218-23 approving change order with AECom for Fitchburg TMDL Windslam update.
Second.
Okay, what is this, David?
Public Works.
Did Public Works approve? Sorry.
Public Works approved.
And did the Finance Committee approve?
Yes, the Finance Committee approved.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So things that have not been, a lot of private stormwater facilities and some other things have not been updated in our model. And hence it shows us out of compliance. So we've been spending $100,000 a year to purchase offsets and farmland to make up for parent shortcomings in our stormwater management. Consultant will get the best practices put in our model along with private stormwater to bring us into compliance, so we'll no longer have to purchase these offsets. And the plan would be, and Tim can weigh in on this, plan would be then, after we have the updated model, our internal stormwater engineers could keep this, keep the model updated moving forward.
Okay, any questions? I don't know, Tim, do you want to add anything else?
Just that there's a budget amendment associated with this, and the budget amendment is taking $60,000 of stormwater rate funding from the bike roundabout repairs project, and also $22,739 of stormwater rate funding from the Seminole Glen stormwater study, and moving it to this TMDL Windsland model update project.
So I have a question, Tim. So this one is practically, we are hiring a consultant to do this, to take a look of all our stormwater and provide some best practices. This is what it is?
So AECOM is modeling the additional TMDLs, but also our part-time stormwater engineer will also be handling some of those TMDLs. So the change order would have been a lot more if it weren't for our in-house part-time stormwater engineer doing some of the work also.
Okay, Gabriela.
One question is, in terms of when the TMDL modeling is complete and we have a sense of what the impact of this change is that something that we can maybe cover in RCC and then I can report back to council, or can we find out the results of that when that comes through?
Yes, so we're anticipating October 2024 to be done with this additional modeling. So later next year, we'll be able to come back and with the results of the modeling.
Okay, any other question, comments? Okay, so all those in favor of resolution R-219-23 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. So next we move to Park Commission. David.
So update on Park Commission, the two highlights, we reviewed naming in the parks and facilities in the Fahey Glen area that were historically selected after the people, David Fahey's ancestors that first farmed the area, and so Parks approved, reviewed the historic significance of those names and approved those. We had naming for the facility parks area, nature areas in the Hartung fields. We postponed those. We wanted them to provide some context on the naming. And the main thing the parks approved for the Stoner Prairie, we approved the playground, I don't know if you want to say design or configuration, and the shelter configuration. There were 3 or 4 options for the playground equipment and 2 for the shelter, and we made the approvals on both of those at the last meeting. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Library Board.
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Commission on Aging Well.
We meet on Thursday.
Thank you. RCC.
Just a couple of notes. We didn't meet this month, but holiday recycling, there is light recycling in City Hall. So if you want to recycle your holiday lights, that's available. And then also there's a guide on the City Fitchburg website. If you Google Fitchburg Holiday Recycling Guide, it can give you a sense of what you can and can't recycle from all the things that come up during the holidays. So if you're curious about that, take a look. And then also just want to note about Christmas tree pickup. There are going to be 2 opportunities to get your Christmas tree picked up. The first week of January, and then I believe the week of January 15th. So the first and the third week of January, and you have to have your tree outside on the curb by 6 a.m. on Monday, and they'll pick it up sometime in that time window. But if it snows, you have to take the tree and put it on top of the snow, because if it's covered, they will just pass it right by. So just wanted to note that that's an option for you, and put it on your calendar so you aren't left with a dead Christmas tree.
Thank you, Gabriela. So next, Transportation and Transit Commission.
We will meet on Thursday, and we'll have discussion on the BRT as well as our intercity transit proposal.
Okay, thank you. CEDA.
Not sure. Joe, would you like to, or would you like me to take it?
You can take it.
All right. Motion to move Resolution R-228-23, approving the Buxton Company LLC master agreement with the City of Fitchburg, Wisconsin for economic development services.
Second.
Did CETA approve?
Yes, CETA approved.
Did Finance Committee approve?
Yes, Finance Committee approved.
Okay. So what is this? I don't know, you or...
Well, I'll try and take it,
Okay.
and then Chad can pick up from once I finish. The Buxton Company contacted the economic development staff to demonstrate a new software that the company had developed to assist with marketing, site selection, business recruitment, and other economic development needs. From the introduction, the economic development staff determined that the tools that Buxton provided could assist with recruitment of retail businesses and services that Fitchburg residents and visitors would like to have in our community. The Buxton reports would not only assist staff, but the reports can also be shared with prospects in telling Fitchburg's story and with real-time customer-driven market data. And let's see what else. In 2023, the 2023 budget, $35,000 was approved to purchase the one-year subscription with funding from tax incremental districts number 10 and 13, and a contribution from CETA. I think that was approximately around $5,000, which came from the hotel room tax portion of their budget. Chad, you want to elaborate?
I think you covered it quite well.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
So any questions, comments? No? Okay, so thank you, Randy. All those in favor of resolution R-228-23, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carried. Okay, so next we are moving to the Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee, Randy.
Yes, nothing to report. We do meet next week, though.
Oh, okay. Bicycle Committee?
Yes, we met last week. No really big discussion items. We talked about a senior center cycle meeting. We discussed project tracking for different projects in 2024. And then we gave an update from Helen Bradley on B-Cycle and just kind of the different places that they've been installed, as well as the data on counters for bike tracking.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, question for Joe? No? Okay, next, EMS.
Nothing to report.
Nothing? Okay, thank you. Healthy Neighborhood Committee?
Our meeting was canceled
Oh, really? Okay.
last week, yeah.
Housing Advisory Committee?
Yeah, we met yesterday,
Okay.
discussed our tours of the healthy neighborhoods, and everybody is to submit their comments to Joyce, who is going to compile them, and she will get them out to the committee members and as well as to the council.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Next, Landmark Preservation Commission.
We have not met.
Tree Advisory Committee. Oh, in January.
You got it.
So next we move to the report from other commissions and committee. We are going to have a discussion about the Police Facility Oversight Committee. So, okay.
Do we have anyone to speak on that?
Yes.
You want to do that first, and then?
Oh, to speak? Oh, yes,
Yeah,
we have, we have someone to register to speak, Tom O'Day. Here it is.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for your service. I reside on Kilkenny Place in Alder Gerhardt and Alder Jetzer's district. Alder Allen, you came to our Police and Fire Commission meeting, I think it was last week, so thank you very much for joining us. You mentioned the need to fully support our police and fire. You mentioned the fact that they are doing impossible jobs as a police department. You mentioned that we can't pay them enough. And you talked about the desire to do more, but recognize the natural limitations on that. You mentioned that you went along on a ride-along with the police department some time ago, and it'd be great to have you back out, and I'd love to join you for one of those police ride-alongs. I tell you, City Council, it's time to support the police department in Fitchburg. The number one goal of your government, of our government as a citizen of Fitchburg, is to keep us safe. And I'd encourage you that for years, the City Council has delayed a new police facility. And in 2020, during the riots, you actually cut funds for the police facility. You've since raised it to $35 million. We know that's been delayed. At the Public Works Committee meeting earlier this week or last week, that was delayed again. And when you delay, costs naturally go up. That's a fact of life. That's a fact of government. Alder Jetzer, at the Public Works Committee meeting last week, you expressed your worry about the price tag, and that's appropriate, and I appreciate that. But I'd like to remind everyone that it's the first job of local government to keep citizens safe. And Alder Allen, you've talked about the referendum and the potential for that in August of 2024 and the number of different positions that would be included in that. But I think it's a poor excuse to blame the state revenue sharing program and the levy limits, because the number one thing that you should do with our tax dollars is fund police, fund public safety, and make sure that we're protected. There's no need for a referendum to pay for more police officers. That's a core expense of city government. And I'd encourage you all to reprioritize. And at our Police and Fire Commission last week, a colleague of mine talked about the need to really prioritize in our city. And I'd encourage you and urge you to fully fund the police, to make that your priority, to give them the staff that they need to protect our community, to give them the staff that they need to move on from a minimum level of staffing. And Alder Allen, you recognized at our meeting at the Police and Fire Commission that we're far below our peers in Dane County with respect to the number of officers on the street. And at any given time, most of the time perhaps, we have 4 patrol that are covering our entire city of Fitchburg for our police department. Now, I recognize priorities mean prioritizing. And that means sidelining pet projects like tennis court repavements, pickleball courts, another teen center, and a BRT extension. We don't need those things as a community in Fitchburg. We need a fully funded police, officers, and facility in order to maintain our public safety. So again, thank you very much. I encourage you just to fully support the police facility, fully support the staff, and you don't need to go to referendum for those core services in our city. Thank you.
Okay, okay, Sean, okay. Yeah.
Thank you all for having me short notice. Didn't realize it was an opportunity to speak. Let me echo first my colleague from the Police and Fire Commission.
Oh, Sean, can you say your name and
sorry.
address first? Okay,
Sean Baxter, I live on Irish Lane with my family. And again, let me echo my colleague's words. Couldn't have said it better myself, and very much appreciate how he outlines what's before you, I believe, today. I just wanted to share a little bit. I've lived in Fitchburg literally almost my whole life. And so I've watched how things have happened. But one of the most disappointing things is when we spend money to study things we want to try and do. And that's what this city did back in 2015. We spent money, taxpayer dollars, on a facility study. What did that study say? It said the police department was currently short 12,684 square feet. Existing today, in 2015, in just 11,600 square feet of net space. The city council before you and the city did nothing with that information. The plan identified immediate needs in 2015. inadequate evidence storage, inadequate secure evidence storage, inadequate evidence lab and processing, inadequate ventilation system, inadequate armory. City council and city did absolutely nothing. It went on to say more immediate needs: double occupancy office space, no privacy in the police department, need additional conference room, already taken one up for office space, engines, electronics, all stored outside. We're in Wisconsin. That's not good. And it said that's an immediate need. What did the city, what did the council do? Nothing. And here we are. It's before you now. You have an opportunity to right those wrongs. We either said to ourselves over the last 8 years, we don't believe that study, or we said we're not willing to invest in the needs, the basic services, as Mr. O'Day said, of a city, and we look the other way. So I'm not about to pass failures of previous councils onto you, but I am asking you, I'm imploring you to accept professional opinions when they're before you and do something about it with our taxpayer money. Now, this facility proposed, which you'll hear about in a second, just meets what that study said 8 years ago would be needed. Just minimum. So let's not shortcut that either. Let's look forward into the future and not put ourselves in the same position. Let's build it to what we think we're going to need in a growing city over the next 10 to 15 years. So I thank you for your time today and certainly look forward to talking to you again on this subject.
Thank you. Okay, so today is, as you know, I removed the resolution coming for tonight for several reasons that I'm going to explain later. But we are going to have the discussion about, where we are with the police facility, the cost. I think, Chad is going to explain what is the goal for tonight. I think this is the first time that the city council is looking at the systematic design, and we're going to discuss cost. So I don't know, Jim, do you have anything to add, or we are with?
No, you took over.
Oh,
You
sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking about what
Okay.
the process would be,
Okay.
but you explained it.
Yeah, so now Chad is going to explain but the other thing I want to mention to the council before we go forward is this is your opportunity for ask all your questions. Because I know that some of you have plenty of questions and we need answers to move forward with this project. And please, this is your opportunity. Thank you. Chad.
Thank you, Mayor. I think you summed up the goal of the evening largely this evening. It's twofold. The first is obviously to hear the council questions that they have regards to this project. And the second goal is to have our police department and design team actually provide an update on the status of where the project currently is at. We do have members, as I mentioned, of the police department, as well as Paul Woodard, the senior project engineer for the city, who's helping coordinate and lead the project. We also have Andrew from FGM Architects, the design firm that's been contracted to design this project, and Jared from Pepper Construction, who is the construction management firm that's been contracted by the city to serve as an advisory contractor to us during this portion of the process. We are here tonight largely because the last cost estimate that came in late last week on Thursday, I believe it was, that was shared with the council, in addition to a number of schematic and programming documents in that same communication to the alders was provided. That cost estimate, as you all now know, if you've had a chance to take a look at that email, was for approximately $49 million. So that was a good opportunity, recognizing that this was about $5 million more than the previous cost estimate in July of last year, to have this conversation, do a presentation about the project and give an update to council, and afford an opportunity to the council to ask questions of the design team and engage in a good, productive dialogue.
Okay, so who is going to start with you?
I think we're going to start with FGM architect Andrew Mayo.
Okay, so I think everyone is going to start, and maybe we should ask questions too, or we are going to leave all the questions at the end. How are we going to do this?
Andrew, what's your preference as you go through your presentation? Would you prefer for questions at the end or as you're rolling through the presentation?
I would say let's take questions as I'm presenting. That way I can address them in the images that I'm showing. Because otherwise I think people are going to get a little lost.
Sounds good.
If I can interrupt, Andrew, when he does his presentation, the purpose of what's on the easel is an organizational chart. That's one that was presented to you earlier to show the expansion of the police department as far as it relates to personnel and how the increase would affect different ranks and structure within the organizational chart. That chart is based upon a city, an average of 40,000 residents. So if you also, one thing that you've also received in the past is our 5-year staffing needs, something that's discussed that is in great length for the future referendum if one does get placed. So as he's describing the intent of the building, you can refer to the organizational chart to identify some of the areas that he'll be talking about as it reflects to different rank and personnel where they would be within the building. He's got it there so that it can come up on the screen.
Oh,
Sorry.
Can everybody see the PowerPoint slides?
Yes.
All right. So hello again, everyone. Andrew Mayo from FGM Architects. We're here to talk about where we're at in the design process and kind of hope to shed some light on some questions that have been asked either through emails or in other meetings so that you all have a better understanding and comfort level going forward with where we're at in the design process and what's projected for the next steps. So right now we are just at the end of schematic design. Like was said earlier, the last piece of that schematic design puzzle would be that budget came in a little higher than the original programming budget, which is why we want to kind of walk through this with you tonight. So I think a lot of you, if not all of you, have seen the overall plans, so I'm not going to go into great detail on these, but in the subsequent slides, you'll see us diving into each piece of the building. So the site plan here, and then lower level, first floor, and second floor plans. So we're going to dive into each of those in a minute here. So the first thing we're going to start with is the entry to the building, making sure that it's a welcoming entry, but also protecting the building from anybody who is looking for ill will, or either purposefully or not. So a lot of what we practice is crime prevention through environmental design. So making sure that the building is secure without it looking like a prison. So that's a big part of, kind of first entering the building. You'll start to see some of this developing. And the images that you're seeing in these slides are images of past FGM Architects projects. And the plan snips are from your proposed police services facility. Going to take you just kind of sequence through the building here. So coming in the vestibule, it's a lot more than a traditional just airlock vestibule. There's a lot of technology that goes into this piece. It is open 24/7. There are call buttons and emergency lockdown buttons so that if and when somebody is in trouble and coming to the police for help, they're able to lock that vestibule and get in immediate contact with dispatch. So I think really what we're trying to say all throughout this is just understanding cost and understanding that, office buildings, city halls, libraries have a very different cost than a police department does because of all of this technology. So again, welcoming is, was kind of a big theme as we were planning this, making sure that the public felt like this was their building. So creating a nice welcoming public lobby. Currently, we have it designed as a 2-story volume, so it'll feel nice and big and open with lots of glass, lots of light, and that's where you'll start to interact. That'll be your, first stop with the transaction window at the records specialists. Across from records, the community/multi-purpose room. So obviously the primary focus of this being in the police department is for training. However, it is not only sized for police training, it's sized for multi-jurisdictional training. If they've got people coming in from other agencies to train at Fitchburg Police, tends to be either discounted or free service from that training company. So that's a benefit for the city. The other piece is being able to hold larger meetings. Even just in our design meetings, we've had to bounce around from building to building. I think I've been in the community center, city hall, and the library now in different meetings for this design, and just understanding that community meeting space is at a premium. Off of that community room, we're talking about putting a green roof and patio system on the roof of the training bay below. That would be open to those using that facility. Just adds to the welcoming nature of the building at the front entry here. Then we jump into some of the more specific spaces. So right off of the lobby, there are a couple of different spaces here, soft interview rooms, as well as the social workers suite. That social worker suite is pulling double, if not triple duty. Being where it is in the lobby, it allows you to hold meetings when the social worker is not necessarily using that meeting room. You can have citizen reports in there. You can also have that as an additional soft interview room for victims of crime or family members, things like that. Jumping to the other side of the lobby, the record specialist area. So this is kind of the front face of the police department to the public. The folks that work in these areas need to have the feeling of security, but also being visible and welcoming to the public, which is why you see a lot of the different bullet-resistant windows and things like that, making them visible yet secure. Another big component for you guys is dispatch. So with dispatch comes a lot of technology, as you can see in some of these photos, just the different monitors and dispatch consoles. Not only does that equipment cost money, but also the infrastructure going into that equipment costs quite a bit of money as well. So again, lending itself to understanding why this building costs what it does. I think this one goes without saying, the IT and server areas in a police department, it's just that much more because of all of the other equipment that needs to be fed by the data in this server room. In addition, making sure that we're meeting CJIS requirements for the police department to maintain their accreditations, things like that. Now we get into the patrol area. So in your particular building, we've got the sergeants out in kind of a shared open office area. Lieutenants, rather than each having their own office, there is one office with 3 workstations in it. There's a small meeting room right off of that area, so that if there needs to be that one-on-one or small meeting between command staff and their patrol officers, they can do it in that meeting room. There's 4 report writing stations, as well as 2 what we're calling continuing ed rooms, that those can pull double, if not triple duty, as far as dictation rooms, just a quiet space to write your reports if there's too much going on or if those 4 report writing stations are full. Another thing I want to point out that's unique to your building, and it's actually a really great idea, the officer in charge desk. So that's kind of an open desk that the lieutenant on duty during that shift can sit at that desk rather than back in their office, and gives them visibility down both corridors, so they're able to see people coming and going, see what's going on in the department. Another important aspect of all modern facilities is staff wellness, and that starts with the break areas. So your break room on the first floor here is large enough so that they can have a few different seating groups. Those can be moved around if there's larger celebrations and things like that. Just brings the staff camaraderie together. As well as you'll see in the corner there's a staff wellness room. That one is not only for staff wellness, mental health. So if they need that mental health break, they can go in there and reset, listen to some calming music. That can also act as a lactation room, as well as a rest area. Let's say someone from third shift has court in the morning, they get off their shift, they don't want to have to go home to come right back. They'll have a place to lay out in a lounge chair for an hour or two before court happens. So in our building right now, we've got 3 of those staff wellness rooms planned. And that's just another look at what you can expect in some of those wellness rooms. Just a nice calming atmosphere where people can get away from the stress of day-to-day first responder life. I'm going to take you down into the lower level for a second here, just getting into some more of the patrol areas. So on the lower level is the main staff lobby. That's where all staff will be coming in from staff parking area. And it's kind of the buffer between the outdoor parking and the indoor squad garage. What we like to do a lot of times is take a lot of their equipment that they're going to be using on a day-to-day basis, whether it's things that need to be charged or just duty bags that need to be stored, rifle storage as well, and putting those in an area where it's just grab and go. So if they're up at roll call upstairs, they come down, they grab what they need to, and they head out the door to their squad. Getting back to interview rooms, now we're looking at more hard interview rooms. So there's 2 areas where we have hard interview rooms in your building. One is in the interview suite, which is just off the lobby. The other, we have 2 additional interview rooms in the booking and holding area. Those are much more secure. The furniture would all be bolted down. It's more of a detention area than what you're seeing in the pictures here would be in that teal area of the interview suite. Getting back into booking and holding, the first stop in booking and holding would be the Sally Port. So this is where a squad would come in with somebody in custody and making sure that this is truly a Sally Port and not a dumping ground for other storage, because anything that's in there can potentially become a weapon. So we want to make sure that we're giving the police the most secure atmosphere they can in the Sally Port. So that's why it's really its own dedicated space here.
Can you just define Sally Port? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that concept.
So a Sally Port is quite literally where the squad will come in with somebody in custody. Doors will close. They can exit the squad garage or exit the squad, and then they're in this Sally Port, which is a garage, and then they enter right into in the next slide here the processing area. So there's a security door in between the 2 spaces. So there's varying levels of security as you get further and further toward processing. Processing is obviously where the arresting officer is going to sit you down, do your paperwork, get your fingerprints. If there's a DUI suspect. They're going to do all the necessary testing. So this is really a space that we want to make sure is as secure as possible, but also has the right equipment in place for the officers to do their jobs. Did that answer the question about the Sally Port? I'm sorry.
Yes, definitely. Thanks.
All right. Getting back to the lower levels for a second, the squad parking would be on the lower level. We have parking available for 36 squads. We had initially planned for a little over 40, but we pared that back as we started, wrestling with budget and other constraints, making sure that we're addressing wants versus needs. There is going to be a future need for a larger squad garage, but we are showing a potential addition space to the north that we're really going to try and keep all utilities and other excavation out of, so that it can truly act as a future addition space.
Yeah, a question, but
down in the squad
can I have
garage.
a question about the squad parking? So when you talk about this full total square footage of the building, does that include the squad parking?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So but traditional buildings, when you do square footage, it doesn't include the parking. Am I wrong? Like a house.
It
like
really
you wouldn't,
depends on what you're.
Like when we say the library, I don't know how many square footage the library is, but that doesn't include the indoor parking of the library, whatever the square footage. I'm just trying to ascertain, like, what is it's hard to compare, right? Because the squad parking is different than like a traditional parking garage. But when someone's asking how big the facility is, they might not think of the parking as being part of it. So I'm just curious what the square footage of the parking is and how that compares to the square footage of the entire building.
Andrew, if I may comment real quick on the library, at least just for a point of reference for the council members and anyone in the audience or watching online. The library, as it stands today, is about 60,000 square feet, which is inclusive of about 20,000 square feet of underground parking. So when you look at that building, it basically has 3 levels of 20,000 square feet.
You can see the square feet for there.
Okay. Where is that?
So Andrew, how much of this
It was in the
74,000 square feet parking?
Say that again, Paul.
How many square feet in this building is parking?
I want to say it's around 10,000, but don't quote me on that. I would have to
According to the document that we received, the building support indoor parking garage, we have 16,000.
Yeah, so that includes building support as well. That's not just the indoor parking.
What is building support?
Building support would be your mechanical spaces, other storage areas, things like that.
Okay.
Anything else on squad parking?
Andrew, this is Jared with Pepper. Just going to jump in real quick. I would say parking is typically included in commercial building square footage. And just want to second that we have about 16,090 square feet in the initial estimate that we provided of parking for this facility.
Can you 16,900 is what you just said?
090. Excuse me. 90.
16,009.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter with that one. Okay.
Sorry, I have one more.
So
parking
additionally,
question. I'm sorry, I have one more parking question. Is there a plan for having hookups for electric vehicles or the future potential? Does it include it, or does it include the future potential for electric vehicle charging?
So that is something that we have as a topic of discussion during design development, which is the next phase of design that we're going to be getting into here. Jared, I don't know that we included any infrastructure of upsizing electrical for that in the current budget, correct?
I would agree. I mean, it's kind of base building function at this point. We don't have additional amperage for car charging stations currently.
but it has been a topic of discussion. So again, if that's something that the council wants to direct staff to do, that's something we could include, but obviously that's going to change the budget even more than what we've already seen.
Could that change after the schematic design is approved, or is this something that has to be included in the schematic design?
No, that could change in the future, but know that changes like that will affect the budget. So, if you're looking for approval of a budget amendment or something at a future meeting, you're going to want to take that into consideration as well.
Thanks.
Sure.
Gabriella, just to add a little on that, the service entrance has an amperage, for us. And so, if you design this building, say it's 1,000 amps. I'm just throwing it out there. The charging stations can add quite a bit. So, you'd have the cost of putting those in the building, as well as upgrading our service entrance, or doing a second service entrance or something. I just want to be aware of, it's not just putting those charging stations in that garage. Our service entrance, and maybe the size of the transformer from MG&E, those would all be factored in also.
Correct.
But also we need to think about that in the future, if most of the cars are going to be electric, and we are building this for the next 20, 40 years, we need to think about this, because maybe the patrol cars or the command car are going to be electric. You know what I mean? So we need to think about that, because we are building this. The idea with building this building the way it is to think in the long term. So, you know what I mean? So I think we need to consider those two. Maybe in RCC when you're there, discuss those. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's a huge operating cost.
Jared,
I know. But
Jared, is that something that, with a little guidance from the engineering team, that you guys would be able to put a line item cost to?
Yes, definitely. I think it just, quantity of how many stations would be kind of the benchmark there. But absolutely we could put a cost to it. We just need to understand how many, would be needed.
Yeah. So to answer the question, as a design team, I think we can start to explore that and provide you with a line item in the budget for that. Just know that it's not going to be cheap.
If I can add on that, we did meet with Tesla. They sell packages of minimum of 4 stations. 4 stations, the package of the what do they call them, the superchargers, is $200,000, and they indicated that it would have to, for installation, would be an additional $200,000 minimum. So you're looking between $400,000 and $500,000 just to install 4 supercharge stations. Those are the ones that
Chief, that does not include the upgraded electrical service or anything like that.
Correct.
yeah, but I agree with all of what you're saying. But if we are building a police station for the future, the future cars that you're going to have, it's going to be a grand, that they're going to be electric. So I am.
Okay.
Because maybe in 10 years we are going to have that discussion why we didn't do this. You know what I mean? And,
Just give me the number.
okay, who was for Jay and then Brandy? Okay, whatever.
Since we're talking about the electrical requirements, what is the intended service for this building?
That we don't know that yet. That's something that we'll
give me a guess. Is it a
as we start to make calculations?
Give me a guess. Is it a 400 amp 3-phase, 600 amp 3-phase?
It could be 600 to 1,000.
Okay. This discussion, it is astoundingly short-sighted to say we're not going to put charging stations in this building. I don't even know why that's a discussion. So I am just astounded beyond belief that we are having this discussion right now. Anybody who has looked at the city of Fitchburg and what we've been doing over the last 2 decades understands that we are moving toward an electric fleet, and as that continues to improve, it will become more and more practical for police cars in the future. So to not include that in the load calculations is beyond short-sighted. So I would encourage you to have more discussion about that and come to the right decision.
Randy?
I agree. So
I agree with you, Jay, but we certainly wouldn't want to max this out for 10 years if we don't know what our fleet's going to be. I mean, we don't want to, any business would not strand capital. You wouldn't build out for a full fleet, and we don't reach that for another 10 years. I think we should be able to set it up so that we can add on to the facility in 5 years once we reach that with our electric vehicles.
You've got to have the service there because the service...
There's no question about it.
The service is the transformer that goes outside the building, underground, wherever it happens to be. And if that transformer can't handle the potential load, then doing this conversion later is going to cost a boatload of money.
Yeah,
I'm not saying to install 50 chargers today. I'm just saying let's at least have the service capable of providing that load.
I would agree with that statement, yes.
Okay, Shannon?
But they were also talking about maybe a second garage eventually when we get big enough. And that could also potentially, we could put that there too. You know, so it's not.
Can I clarify that?
Second garage.
Go for it.
So it wouldn't be a second garage. It would be an addition to the existing or the planned squad garage. But even then, you'd still need the adequate transformer load coming into the building. And utilities kind of frown on having a second service coming into the same address. So it would really be, this one shot to do that, at least the infrastructure piece of it.
Which you guys are having discussions about now anyway, right? So.
Yes.
Okay.
Jay?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the transformer and the service. I mean, since this is going to have a poured concrete floor, you've got to run the conduit because otherwise you're going to be jackhammering up the floor to put this in at a later date. So, I mean, when I hear, well, there's discussions about this, I'm just astounded. It makes no sense to not be looking toward the future with this.
Okay, so can you guys add this in the budget to see how much it's going to be? You know what I mean? Because it's something that the council would like to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to jump in there for a quick second. I mean, for us to add raceways to run wires for the future, not a big deal, I think. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it would not be a big deal for us to add some raceways to pull that wire later. I mean,
it's something that we're doing. We're not doing on all of our projects. We're doing on most of our projects, anticipating this for the future. But the other big capital expenditure is going to be the electrical infrastructure. Like you said, the service coming in, the transformers, the panels in the building. So making sure that we have all of that in place sets you guys up for year 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever the case may be, having everything in place that you can really just have Tesla or whomever come in and install their equipment.
Okay, we understand. Okay, Jim.
Yeah, I'm glad we're having this conversation, and I really appreciate what you just said, Jay, because I was looking at the square footage of the building, and I'm very comfortable with that. But I look at this that we really got to prepare for the future, and we got to make sure this building lasts. Because one thing I learned in my 28-year career in law enforcement, science, society, and technology changes. And when I started, never thought that we would have lactation rooms. Never thought we would have to have specialized dressing rooms or locker rooms. And when we talk about evidence collection, when we talk about safety and labs, we don't know what type of units are going to be in this building in the future. I mean, just over my career, I was in charge of gang unit. That was 5 officers and a sergeant. Our community outreach and education unit, that was 5 officers and a sergeant. Our mental health unit, that was 5 officers and a sergeant. Then we added 3 civilian personnel from Journey Mental Health. We ran out of room really fast. And then when you look at computer forensics, you know, we may have to go into that because as the city grows and as more things happen, we may have to do more things in-house than right now you go to the crime lab. And I think, Chief, what is it, 3 crime labs that covers the whole state? And a lot of times we just had to set up our own units because, you know, the community, they want service. And they don't want to wait 6 months for forensic imaging of a computer so that we can investigate child porn or any other crime. They're going to want it right away. And when you go to the state, you're going to be waiting in line. DNA analysis. I mean, it's just, you know, where technology goes, it's just amazing. You know, I mean, you look just with evidence collection and DNA. I mean, how many cases have been solved because evidence was preserved properly, and all of a sudden the technology for DNA came along, and people went to prison. People were actually released from prison because they were able to look at DNA, and they found out that the identification was wrong, and here you are. And who did that affect? Mainly African-American men. And so we've really got to think, like Jay was saying, we got to think ahead and make sure that we're just not going to build a building, that we're just thinking right now that we actually are going to be looking at society, and who knows what's going to happen. I mean, they're talking about AI. I mean, who knows where that's going to lead us. So I appreciate those comments, Jay. I just wanted to reinforce those.
Okay, so let's move on.
We get to continue?
Yes.
Since Alder Wheeler brought it up, I'm going to skip quickly through these next few spaces to get to some of those more critical spaces, evidence being one of them. So another space down in the lower level off of the squad garage will be the canine space, kind of self-explanatory there. Now we get into evidence bag and tag. So this is kind of the first stop for evidence intake at your facility, making sure that the police department has adequate space to collect, analyze, and properly bag and store that evidence. So looking at some of the pass-through locker options, these are all things that we're going to be deciding as a project team going forward into design development. We have the space for them, but how we're outfitting those spaces, these are just some examples. Evidence processing lab. I think a couple of these spaces were really highlighted during our tours, so thank you all who attended those tours. I think Chief and his staff could speak for hours on what an ideal evidence processing lab looks like and what sort of equipment goes into that, as far as fuming hoods, drying cabinets, even video and image processing areas, making sure that you have the right lighting so that when you're photographing evidence, you're not getting shadows and things like that. So just making sure that we're planning for all this equipment in a modern facility. This is just a quick overview of one of the biggest threats right now being fentanyl, which is why we feel that the evidence processing lab and its layout and the equipment in that lab is extremely important in the facilities that we're designing right now, because this has become such an epidemic issue, and the police are on the front line dealing with it because they're arresting folks that have this on their person, and they've got to process it as evidence. Getting into the kind of back of house of evidence. This is where all the evidence is stored once it's processed and bagged. There's a multitude of ways of storing the evidence, but making sure that it's a secured, climate controlled area, making sure that we're separating drugs, guns, and money so that you can have the proper accreditation through WILEAG. Just safe and secure environment so that there's no questions in the future on chain of custody.
I have a question.
Again, just walking through some other. Go ahead.
Or cars that are collected as evidence?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so in the facility, we have, it might not have a slide on it, but we do have a processing bay for vehicles. Storage would still be offsite though. So that processing bay, you can pull a vehicle in, and if it's the only vehicle you have, then it can be stored on site. But if you've got to process your next one, then that one's got to move to impound.
Will it have a lift?
No. What we do have is a winch is typically our standard. So you put it on dollies and you can winch it in without having to disrupt anything in the car and compromise the evidence. The other thing that we find useful is low-level lighting. So it's not just your standard garage. It's really got a lot of extra equipment in there to make sure that you're able to properly process the evidence, whether it's in the vehicle itself, under the vehicle, in the trunk, wherever it may be. Any other questions related to evidence?
No.
All right. Now we're going to go upstairs, getting into some of the training. So defense and arrest tactics is a very important piece of what your Fitchburg Police Department is doing as far as training, and they need the proper space to do it. They tend to be throwing each other around, a lot of physical interaction. We want to make sure that they're safe in doing so. So having padded floor, padded walls, and the appropriate space to do that in. So you'll find that at the far north end of the first floor, along with the fitness room, just adjacent to that. I think it was alluded to before, locker rooms have come a long way in a modern police facility. So making sure that they have adequate space to store all of their uniforms and equipment, making sure that those are safe and secure as well as well ventilated, because mold, mildew, etc., could be a real problem with a lot of the equipment. Making sure that they've got adequate space for their boots and for their vests, everything that goes along with that. What you'll see in the plan here for your facility, there are two locker rooms. There's a men's and a women's. Up to the top right of the image here, and then on the lower left, we've got a universal shower locker area as well as a universal toilet. So any of those non-binary or gender fluid, gender neutral, we've got a space for them as well. So it's not necessarily just a men's and a women's. It's making sure that we're being as inclusive as we can.
Andrew? Question?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was along on the tour in September, and I'm trying to recall whether it was Mount Prospect or Skokie, where the gentleman giving the tour said that a big regret that he had was having separate men's and women's locker rooms. Why are we continuing? I mean, why not have gender neutral so you don't have to overbuild for potential, number of men, potential number of women? If it's the same sort of a idea as your, single line at the grocery store instead of everybody going into their own separate line. Wouldn't it be more efficient to
So
have
it is something
single
that we did
locker room?
explore. We explored different options there, and came back from the police department that the preference was to have the option that you saw on the screen there. I don't know, Chief, you want to elaborate on what your staff's response was to those options?
We obviously included input from everyone in the department, both civilian and sworn. The biggest portion, and I would say almost all of the females, push for this type that we have in the diagram to date. The females were extremely opposing it. I mean, very, very serious, animated, and very stressed over having the alternative. And we're a department, a city that's going 30 for 30. We really want to include the female and their voice. But this came from the females within the police department. They're very vocal about it. Yes.
Anything else related to lockers?
Well, just a question about that too, because like in terms of just to give you some insight into that conversation, like so if when I hear like a gender neutral bathroom, I don't know what that means. Like I don't know exactly what that means, but I assume that it can be designed in a way that makes everyone comfortable. So like was there a lot of information about what that looks like in reality? Can you give me some insight into how much information was provided before that conversation?
Absolutely. If you want, you can. The best way is to have their input, because I stated you need to come to the council or whoever pushes this question, because we want to include your voice. It's not my decision. It was the voice of the females within the police department, both sworn and civilian. So I think the best thing is to have them come up here and say, because that's what I want. We did explain it. We explained it thoroughly. They're part of helping design this building. Everybody has say within our organization, and we allow them to have say. But I think we should include their say and have weight in that piece, and not just say we're going to do something differently. And we can. I have a department where I want to include more females. I want to bring more females on the job, but they need a voice. They're extremely uncomfortable with that.
Okay, let's continue.
All right. So then heading upstairs to the second floor of the planned police services facility, you'd get into some of the command areas. So this is where you'd have your chief's conference room and chief and command staff offices as well. Just getting a sense of different potential cubicle layouts, whether it's in detectives or down in patrol. So these are some of the things that we'll walk through with the project team. Another important piece of the building is an incident/major case room. So this will happen up in investigations. It's a room where outside agencies can come and collaborate with Fitchburg Police, whether it's a neighboring community, Dane County Sheriff, FBI, ATF, whomever. If there's an incident and you need a place to meet, and that place needs to be secured yet available to the outside agencies so they're not disrupting the day-to-day operations of the police department, this is where they'd go. And this would allow them to have everything up on the walls as far as what their investigation entails, and not have to take it down for fear of, the next group coming into this meeting room can't see all this sensitive information. So this is truly just for investigations. And I have, anecdotal story I like to tell is one of the departments we did recently, the chief and deputy chief had a wager on how soon they would use this room, and it was like plus or minus 3 years is when they said they'd use it. They used it in the first 2 weeks. So it's become a very important piece of a modern police facility.
We have a question, Gabriela.
There's no possibility for the community room to double as this? What is the difference between this space that makes the community room not a possible option?
Like I said, this is a room strictly for investigations. So if they've got all of their stuff pinned up on the walls, they've got various strategies and whatnot on a whiteboard. We want this to be a space where they can quickly secure all that and not have to worry about, the Boy Scouts are coming in to use the community room now. So we've got to shut that down. Or, the other circumstance would be community rooms in use. You have a major incident. Well, then what are you going to do? Kick the people out that are in their training or whatever meeting. So this is really just a dedicated space for investigations.
I have another question. Bill.
Yeah, I guess along those same lines, tell me about the roll call room and how that, it seems like that could also be a place where the major investigations could happen. Do we need both rooms?
The problem with that, again, patrol aren't necessarily involved in what's going on in investigations. So it's not necessarily the space where you'd want to have patrol in, for one. And two, you can't really dictate when and how you're going to use this major case room. It's going to be used when it's needed. So then, if it's in use, then where do you do roll call? That roll call room, however, is pulling multiple duty. It is a larger meeting room, as well as it's not just used at shift change for roll call. You can hold your meetings in there. If it's a smaller training that doesn't necessitate the larger multi-purpose community room, you could hold smaller trainings in that roll call room as well.
Can you define what roll call? I'm sorry, I don't understand what that is.
Can I add on to both of those just to answer your? Can I add? Excuse me, Andrew. Just a couple of things. 2 separate functions, 2 separate daily functions. The investigations room, I disagree. You're going to be using it daily. And the reason why you're going to be using that investigations daily is you brief daily on the advancements of a particular investigation. The walls are going to be outfitted for things to post. No different than we're posting an easel here. We can have an easel or something posted on a criminal organization that's operating, burglary group that's operating within Dane County. And we're going to have those names. The investigators are going to be dealing. What's our follow-up? Where we're going to duck to? What's our evidence? Those things are posted for visuals to identify what we need to do on a daily basis. So they will be briefing there on their advancements and their follow-up on a daily basis. The patrol has to do the same, but based on daily activities. So the patrol has to post up the neighborhoods that they're going to be focusing on. What's going on? Who are they looking for? Who are the problem people? Who have we? What from a 24-hour period? Who are the what's going on in the neighborhoods that we need to focus on if we have a deployment, if we have an event, and so on and so forth. The sergeants, the uniformed sergeants with the stripes, and the patrol officers are going to be using the roll call or briefing room. That's a room where they gather before they hit the streets. And that's where they get their daily tasks. That's where they get their daily information and know what they're going to do when they go out on the streets. Similar for the investigations, but it's going to be in a different room. What is they could be working on a long-term investigation, short-term search warrant information, developing evidence for the next steps on the investigations that are leading that they took away from patrol during their initial response. So 2 different functions, 2 different things that are going on a daily basis, 2 different areas that you're going to need to communicate that with, communicate that information. And at times, you're going to have the investigations come down to the roll call or briefing room to discuss updates on those investigations and what the patrol is going to need to look for to enhance their investigation to bring that to a resolution. And those are things that are going on a shift-to-shift basis and a daily basis.
Okay. Okay.
So the reason I ask about combining, so the community room is nice. I like the idea of being able to present it to the public. But we are in a space where there's lots of community rooms like right next door. You know, there's a library, there's a community center, there's a senior center. So like, I love the idea of having a community center room available, but if we're talking about the square footage as part of the cost of the building, maybe we forego a community room to combine. I don't know if that's possible. I'm just saying, like, the community room, I understand the explanation that this is a room that has a specific function, and the community room is a secondary function. Like, we're just going to let the community into it. But is there a possibility of combining spaces to constrain the square footage? I don't know that there should be. I just need to ask the question.
Sure. So as part of the community room, it also serves as the department's training room. Right now, we are in a training consortium with the City of Middleton Police Department. So our quarterly in-services, we bring both police departments together, and we need a space adequate enough to provide that training. So while that training is going to serve, that the community room could be served as a space to hold our Citizens Academy in the future. It could be used to hold hunter's education classes for the public. As Tom Clowder said earlier in the meeting, potentially CCW classes could be held there. But the reason for that larger space is to bring other departments in to hold specialized training for law enforcement as well as for community events.
In addition to that, the other rooms are not open at later dates. The library is not open when the police department's open. The library is occupied. Even with the spaces that we have today, I'd like for Paul Woodard to explain about the different rooms. And having some of our ad hoc meetings or just meetings to convene for this project, we had a hard time finding the space. And we're jumping around from the library to the Fitchburg Center to the Jane Sealing Room. So that in itself was not enough. We're always having a difficult time. We have been having a difficult time finding meeting space. So regardless of not there, we still need more meeting space for city. So.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. The only question so we haven't gotten to the training facility yet, but is there any reason why the training facility can't serve that purpose of having the convening space for when you bring the two departments together?
As far as the training bay?
Yes, yeah.
So that's not going to have seating or anything like that? So during in-services, we bring in potential domestic violence team or victim witness team, and it'd be in a seated area, and we do a PowerPoint presentation. In the training bay, that's going to be much more tactically based. It's not going to have monitors or screens or those types of things. That's going to be where officers and staff are going to be conducting scenarios, and we're going to have vehicles in there. We're going to have partitions to create what could be a doorway, an entry, a room, those types of things. So the purpose of that training bay is not to hold some sort of specialized training. That would be that much more controlled community room with monitors, the ability to have speakers come in to present on various topics.
Two different areas of focus, the community room, training room, conference room. That's a room for theory, to discuss theory, to discuss, do case studies, slideshow presentations, that type of events. The other ones are actually the practical application. So now you learned it through lecture. Now let's go apply what we talked about out in a scenario area. So there's two pieces. There's the physical piece, and then there's the other area where you may have to use some other form of force, which is why you have two different spots, a hard wall, concrete and metal, and another area where you're going to have a soft area because we're actually in the fall. We're going to roll, and we need matted area to do that.
Bill, do you have a question?
Well, I guess as long as we're talking about the scenario room, so what sort of things can you do in that room that you wouldn't be able to do elsewhere?
Which room? The training
scenario,
bay?
yeah, the training bay.
The tactical one.
Tactical room, right.
The shooting range.
Okay. So the training bay would serve as You couldn't do in there that you could do in a community room or like a static training room. You wouldn't be using simunition rounds, which is essentially paintball. You wouldn't want to be using those types of things in that training room because the simunition rounds could potentially pierce drywall, create damage in that particular room. You'd use the scenario room for that. You would also be using the scenario room to equip officers to go into a training scenario with all of their tools that they would normally carry on patrol. In every case that a patrol officer goes into a scenario, they do carry a firearm. So in those particular instances, you have to present that officer with every tool necessary to handle that situation. It could be a scenario where they use verbal tactics. It could be a scenario where they use their pepper spray or OC spray. It could be a scenario that they use their taser. It could be a scenario where they would have to use their firearm, and we have to provide them that opportunity to make that decision so we can reinforce all of those decisions that they made, that is how you would handle the situation, or we could potentially correct that behavior in that training scenario so they don't make the same decision in an actual real-life scenario.
How do other departments do this? I mean, there's no other department other than Madison who has such a facility, right? And
Dane County has a
right. Yeah, Dane County and the city of Madison are the only one.
In Dane County, correct.
Right.
But there's a variety of other departments throughout the state that have ranges or training bays.
My question is, if Middleton, Verona, Stoughton, Monona, Oregon, et cetera, have not done this, why does Fitchburg need to do this? And I guess additionally, this facility was not identified in the 2015 space needs assessment either. So how did we arrive at this rather expensive addition?
Yes.
In our design at this point.
I'm going to refer to two pieces, but I'm going to bring a little bit of science into this too. And I'll start off with what is occurring in Dane County and the growth of Dane County. And when you have growth, the municipalities are growing. And with that growth, we are on a waiting list for training. And I brought this up earlier as far as how much time we get to train, especially with some of the tools. And the highest risk tool on our belt is our firearm, 4 times a year. That's all we get to train with. And in those 4 times a year, less than 4 hours on those 4 different dates to train with this firearm on our side. That is not good. And that's opening up ourselves in the entire county for each law enforcement agency for litigation if there ever came a time where one of us are going to use it. Here's the other piece is this article that was shared by the mayor to all of us. I don't know if you read it through the Milwaukee Journal on Milwaukee is one of the major cities that is losing population. It's shrinking, but it's counterbalanced by growing population in Madison. Dane County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state. Madison is growing at an increasing, at a high rate, but the number one for this year in this article is Fitchburg at 9.74%, followed by Sun Prairie. If you take away the town of Madison annexation, we would be second to Sun Prairie. We're growing at a fast pace, and it's not stopping. And with that, you need to prepare at least our first responders to be prepared for the number of residents that are coming to be able to accommodate the type of calls of service that we're having there. So now we fall back on training. If you look at any of the major incidents that have occurred in our nation, there will always be a topic on training. And when you're using the piece on firearm, there's a lot of science that goes into the use of a firearm, no different than the science that goes into playing baseball, football, or any other sport, with the need for repetitive training to make that muscle memory. So What happens when a person uses their firearm or uses deadly force, utilizing this weapon, there's some things that are going to happen to your body and your mind. All right? And to counterbalance that, you need to control that. If your emotions are high or low, your rationale is not going to be at a normal functioning level. Your ability to think things through are not going to be very accurate. So what happens is there's things like parasympathetic response. If I squeeze this hand, I'm going to automatically squeeze this hand because my brain is acting kind of weird because I'm going through a type of stress. There's actually a reactionary gap. If I'm chasing you and you turn around, you're going to be able to turn around and shoot me before my brain tells me to duck, move, or do whatever I have to do. There's a reactionary gap. And on top of that, if I decide, my brain decides to tell me to pull the trigger on that firearm, there's a reactionary gap by the time for my brain to tell it to stop, which is why you see some of these events on TV. There's also tunnel vision. As your heart rate starts elevating and your adrenaline starts to pump through there, you start losing your vision and it focuses on one object. Those are all things that have an adverse effect to you being able to handle a situation properly. So through more training, you're able to understand the threats and control your breathing to allow your body to accommodate the motor functions. I forgot one other one. Your vision is more delayed, but your hearing is more advanced. To be able to make sense out of those things, the only way you're going to be able to overcome all of that is through training, constant training, not training 4 times a year. Lord, hope it doesn't happen. But when we look at those things and that incident does not come out the way we want it to, what do you think that civil lawsuit's going to be? How much money are we going to have to pay out? If you've seen what's occurred throughout our nation, we're going to blame the officer for how they handle that situation. But I can tell you, being involved in these incidents, it's very, very difficult to control your heart rate, to control your breathing, to allow that brain to start thinking and working the motor functions in your body. That's all science. Training is extremely important. I take training very important. I've seen a lot of things in my life, in this profession. But that's one thing that we always lack on. I think the city of Fitchburg, though, you do give us some good funding for training over some of the other cities here in Dane County. So thank you very much for that piece. I'm not here to complain about it, but I'm a big proponent of training.
When you talk about training, can you be more specific? Because there are different types of training. So
Absolutely.
The training that you're talking about is fire alarm training.
Absolutely.
That one is the one
That's
you're
one
talking.
of many pieces.
Okay.
That's one of many pieces, and the sky's the limit on what we can train on.
Mm-hmm.
We can train on communications, verbal communications, and that all gets incorporated in different scenarios. So we're not just saying we're going to train to shoot every day of the year to be very proficient in that. Mm-hmm. But there's training in CIT, crisis intervention. There's I'm forgetting crisis negotiations. There's domestic violence training, in training on that, on identifying things. There's training and investigations. You name it, there's specialties throughout that. I can come up with a list and show you over 100 different topics on what we can train on an annual basis. We have to certify in CPR, no different than the fire department. So we have to also pass that test. We have to be every couple of years for emergency vehicle operations. Every 2 years. So there's mandated state training that we have to complete on a regular basis. And on top of that, different avenues that our officers want to be more proficient in, they need to train on that. From radar, intoxilizer training, different things in items in OWI, processing evidence, processing different type of drugs. Each and every one of those items, and then some, require training. So I'm just, the reason why I'm answering the firearm piece is because that's the piece that comes up every time. But training in itself is endless, especially when you're under the scrutiny, the police department here anywhere is under the microscope. It's always going to come back to training. When you testify, one of the standard questions from the district attorney, have you been trained in this? Have you been trained in interrogations? Have you been trained in identifying drugs? Have you been trained in the concealed carry, when people, what is that called? When you identify somebody who you believe is in possession of a firearm and you conduct a pat-down based on that suspicion and fearing for your safety, what training did you obtain in that? In identifying and making those observations. When you testify, that's a big component on what you're going to testify to. How much training have you had in that piece?
So my other question is regarding, we are talking about the training, so I don't know, the training, what do you call it, the training bay. So no, this one is, if we add the shooting range, it's going to be a very expensive component because it's the wall,
Yes,
we can have the space and you can do a lot of the training without a wall, but you need a wall, how you call the wall, I don't know.
The backstep, the ballistic
Yeah, that
capabilities?
one. So that one is the more expensive component of this room, isn't it?
That is the HVAC system.
Yeah. So the question is, I think the amount is coming between, what is it, $3 million, kind of, is something like that?
Andrew or Jared?
I'll jump in there, Mayor.
The equipment in the room, the outfit the room so you have live firing capability is approximately $2 million.
What is it? Live fire capability is approximately $2 million. Only that?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay.
Hold on, that's to outfit the room. There's also the construction of the room.
Yeah. So
Well, how much is that? Like, can you break out like the entire training bay?
So to make the box, if you will, the white box is probably $1 to $2 million. We have not done a detailed breakdown of it, but somewhere between $1 to $2 million probably. But we know for sure that we did do an estimate that would take to outfit the room. That's approximately $2 million. So
what is that?
You know, create the spaces about, let's just say $1 to $2 million,
Yeah.
and then to outfit the spaces another $2 million.
Oh, okay, and then you had to add the other.
And that's what's included. That's what's included in the estimate you saw this week.
Okay, so all in, that training room is $3 to $4 million.
Okay, so my other question is that the wall, I don't know, it can be added in the future. We can do the box, where you can conduct a lot of training without, in the short term, the shooting, practice or training. And in the future, it can be, we design it in a way that we can add that wall in the future. I don't know. This is what I am asked. We need to ask those questions now because we need to decide what we're going to do. You know what I mean? So, or is, you know what I mean? Or
you can always.
Yes.
The answer is yes. You can add that in the future.
Okay.
It'll come at a significantly higher cost, but yes.
Yeah, we know a higher cost. Yeah. It's a common denominator. No, but that one could be another option if, Jim, yeah. No, I think that one could be.
So just one thing to consider, Mayor.
Yeah.
I am looking in doing some research on a non-state construction grant for this facility.
Yeah.
And one of the components of that grant related to public service is a regional training center, and that would have to include all elements of the training components for law enforcement, which would need to include the live fire capabilities of a training center.
No, I get it, but right now we need to think. Well, the decision that we need to make, Matt, is like if we are not getting the grant, it's like we are funding this. You know what I mean?
Just want you to consider that.
No, I know, I get it. But,
I can't apply for the grant if that decision is not made to move forward with the current schematic design.
Oh, but that one is the grant that we apply, or no? That
Correct,
you apply?
which would need to have all training components of the current schematic design.
Okay, I get it. But this is, you know what I mean? Like, if we are making the decision right now, is we have to say, it will be great if we get that grant, but I think the decision is, we need to make the decision is like, we don't have that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. So, Jim.
So you don't necessarily have to cut this out, assuming that you're not going to get the grant. What we can do is carve out this piece as what's called an alternate. So when it comes to bidding the project, so it'll still be designed into the project, but when it comes to bidding the project, it'll be a separate item, and that won't happen until, late next summer. So by then you would know whether or not you had that grant.
Yeah. No, okay. So there are options we are discussing, okay? Jim and then Jay, yeah.
Yeah, Chief. One of the things I really get concerned about is operating expenses and how that affects the levy. I mean, I had coffee with a retired officer today. We meet weekly, and he's, fixed income, paying $8,000 a year in property taxes. And so what I worry about is, it was mentioned by Tom Clowder that we can open this up for people to come in, they can pay, and everything else like that. But there's going to be an operating cost for that. And even if you bring in other departments, there's an operating cost. So what I would like to see, I don't know if you've done it already, is to really get a market analysis of the actual interest, more than just aspirational that, people can come in and just use it. When we did Madison, we actually assigned a sergeant, Mike Hansen, to actually go around to different departments and actually get some commitments, that they are going to, use the facilities. So I would like to see something like that, because there's other projects that's in the pipeline, and those same questions are going to be asked.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but and this goes to Matt, who's been working on the grants and doing an awesome job on those pieces. But the grants don't come by just us writing them. We have to ask for that support. So that we would be asking other law enforcement agencies. I've been already reaching out to some elected officials. I want to get a better idea if this is something that is obtainable. So that would come in that piece.
Thanks.
Jay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember when we had 24 police officers, and we currently have 55 authorized staff. We've just approved a COPS grant to go to 60, and the police department's still asking for 4 more. That's a lot more than 26 officers. And right now, when those officers need this type of training, they have to drive to Wanakee, which is putting wear and tear on our vehicles. It's taking the officers out of Fitchburg. So these are people who are on the payroll at that time, because we pay them when they have to go there. They're on the payroll, they're going to Wanakee, they are out of the city of Fitchburg, which leaves fewer officers in Fitchburg on the street for the time that they are in Wanakee. That is not a sustainable model. That is not a model. It might have worked okay when we had 24 police officers or 26 police officers, and every place else in Dane County had a lot fewer police officers. But now there's a lot more, and the facility that Dane County has grown a little bit, but not enough to accommodate all of this time. So, I mean, I have concerns about the cost of this building also, but I think the training facility is not the place to look to cut it back. It is too important to be playing around with this as if it's some sort of toy. This is a vital function. We're building this building, hopefully, that it will last 50 to 100 years. And by that time, within 20 or 30 years, we might have 80 police officers. We might have 100 police officers. We are adding enough land to the urban service area with our current neighborhood plans to add over 30,000 in population. Now, that's not all going to happen tomorrow, but that's going to require a lot more staff than what we have now. So this is another one of those things where I would say we need to plan for the future and not be short-sighted.
Okay, so the question, because this is something that the council we need to provide them with some guidance, especially to the engineer and architects, is we feel comfortable with the training room, the full training room, you know what I mean, like with the training bay. This is something that I want to know if you, council, feel comfortable to move forward, because they need to move forward, and they need to know that. So that one is something that I would like to know from each of you. No roll call, but can you, like we did the other day, you know, with the referendum, like, how do you feel? You know, do you feel like we need to have this is an important component for the fire, for the Sorry, I'm confusing.
We're always playing second fiddle to the fire department. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I would like to I want to know if you feel comfortable to have the full training. What do they call training bay? The tactical. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Randy. How do you feel?
You want to start? Yes.
Okay. Jim.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jay.
Sure.
Yeah, it definitely appeals to me. I mean, I appreciate your detailed explanation about how the training functions, because I think the public needs to understand the value of that type of training, and that when we talk about that cost, that's the value that we're getting. So that type of explanation, that was really helpful to hear that all laid out, and it definitely appeals to me.
Okay, and Bill, how do you feel?
I'm very uncomfortable with this.
Okay. Okay, fine.
I mean, think about this. If you learn a foreign language, you're going to speak that foreign language. If you play a sport, you're going to play that sport more. If you practice with a gun, you're inevitably going to use that gun more. I mean, it's.
Well, this is we need to respect each people's opinion. This is about, so we need to respect everyone's opinions. Okay.
It's
Thank
just
you.
hard for me
Okay.
to imagine that's not the case.
Okay. Joe and Dave.
I'm comfortable.
At this point, no, I'm not comfortable with it.
Okay. Okay, so you sense what is something additional to this?
Well, I would just want to respond to that. I respect your opinion, but I think it's an insult to officers. I know officers who have been involved in officer-involved shootings. It's not fun. They didn't go out and say, well, I shoot my gun, and now I just want to shoot somebody. Like the chief says, there's a lot of decision-making that goes into that. And without evidence to just say, well, I just think somebody's going to just use their gun because they trained with it, I think that's not right. We are responsible for every single projectile that comes out of that weapon. And if we miss from what we are aiming at and somebody else gets hurt, the only thing you're going to do is figure out whether it's a single or a double digit that goes in front of those six zeros. And I think that's not fair for an officer who goes out, put their life on the line to protect people, and actually say, well, they're I don't even know. I'm just frustrated. I don't even know where that came from. I mean, is there any evidence about that? And I think we need to, support our officers. And it sounds like, if somebody gets shot, we're just going to throw them under the bus. Well, they trained for that, and they're just going to go out and shoot people. I think we owe our officers a lot more than that. These are professional people who train hard. I was one of those people. And for somebody to say that I'm going to use my gun because I want to be very proficient at it, I think it's just an insult. I mean, having shooting is a very perishable skill. You lose it if you're not really, practicing. And 4 times a year, that 4 hours at each time, that's minimum. That's the minimum standard. And we should not be sending our officers out there into the community that we're sworn to protect with just the very minimum. When I gave out the 21st century policing from Obama, training is the #1 thing that they say that officers need. Training. And that's what we're going to provide our officers. And I think we shouldn't be telling our officers that Well, you're practicing, so I think you're just going to go out and shoot somebody because you're practicing with your weapon. To me, that's nothing but anti-police rhetoric. And I don't think that's fair. I think it tells the community, it tells potential officers that why would I want to work for a department where the city council has this thing that, oh, they're just going to think I'm just a bunch of, whatever, that just want to kill people. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Shannon?
My thing is, if you ever want to be proficient at anything that you do in life, you need practice. And that goes for driving a car, that goes for, anything you do in your life. And that's all I wanted to say. I just think more practice, the better you are at every situation. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So I thought that you get an idea. Who has an idea? Jay? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little comment to that. I think, Bill, that's the wrong way of looking at this issue. I agree with Shannon that if you want to get good at something, you train. And that's important. I think the way you should be looking at it is that when in the rare instance, and Fitchburg has had very, very few instances that involve an officer and shooting somebody. But when an officer has to pull a gun and do something, I want them to be able to take care of the situation very quickly. I don't want to have incidents where we have 5 or 6 shots fired in order to take somebody down, if that's what's necessary. I want them to be able to do it, to not hit anybody who's maybe standing behind the person involved. I want our officers to be able to use those weapons in a way that is professional, is efficient, and I just don't think, especially given the small amount that our officers use their weapons in the normal course of their days, that training for an hour 4 times a year is going to make that happen. I mean, I don't know of any professional in any field who gets really good at what they do in 1 hour 4 times a year. That's not how you get good at something. So I think I understand your discomfort, I really do. But I think in terms of this facility, that's not the best way to think about it.
Okay, so thank you for all your comments. So now I want to say something. It's already 10 o'clock, and we have a lot of things. We haven't even talked about budget, a number. So that one is the other important thing. So we have an idea how you feel about the training. So, the training is an important component that we want to see. Okay. So now that one is. So now, Andrew, do you have more slide about this so we can move to budget?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a couple of slides actually having to do with firearms. So just giving you a sense of where these weapons are stored, where the ammunition's stored. That's armory and storage. That'll be on your lower level of your facility. And again, gun cleaning is the same thing. Caring for your tools of the trade, making sure that your weapons are functional and cleaned properly. So again, just different areas of the building that add understandable cost to the project. So I want to quickly jump into a comparison here of the 2015 study versus some of what's included in our schematic design phase here. So as you can see, we actually were able to be a little more efficient in the overall space compared to what the study had identified. Pretty but the thing I really want to highlight is the difference in the budgets. It's not just that this was 2015 and now we're in 2023 budgeting for 24. It's that the assumptions made to get that budget in 2015 did not give you a modern police facility. You can kind of look through this comparison here, but that really goes into a lot of what the costs are, as well as there was nothing for sustainability included in the 2015 budget. The soft costs of the project, the furniture, fixtures, equipment, the design and review fees and testing fees, those weren't included in the budget. So even escalating that 2015 study dollar amount to 2024 dollars, it still wouldn't be a modern police facility. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. So keep that in mind while you're thinking about, yes, you've been budgeting in your capital plan based on this study, but it's going to take some rethinking of the methods behind that to truly understand where we're at today. Any questions on this before I?
Yeah, so one of the questions that I want to make, one of the assumptions in 2015 was a single story, and then in 2023 is a multi-story. So that there is increasing the cost substantially. So so that one I want to make that clarification, because the other one was a single story and this one is multi-story. So that they are already, the building that you are proposing is going to be more expensive. So.
Yes, and the multi-story is due not only to the site, but also its relationship to the library across Research Park Drive. So it's not just simply a functional thing; it's also how it's fitting in the context of the larger municipal campus.
Okay, so that one is your last one. Your last slide, Andrew?
And then I've got the budget options here.
Okay.
We talked through this as a team. We're at 49.2 now. And Jared, if you need to chime in with any of the questions they have, feel free. But this one obviously includes everything that we showed you today, everything that's in the plans. It includes an allowance for sustainability features. That allowance will be eaten up pretty quickly with all of the different desires for sustainability on this project. There's a lot of them, and we could do them all, but everything costs money. And based on some of those initial budget projections on some of the sustainability line items, one or two of those options is going to eat that 2.5 allowance up. If you drop it down, if you drop the budget down below what we're anticipating after schematic design here, you could get to 45 with a few different changes to the design. It would be, as we were talking before, no live fire in the tactical training bay, reduction of quality of interior and exterior materials. Obviously, that comes at a longevity cost. Eliminating some of the exterior amenities that we've planned. We've got walking trails as well as some exterior features for staff to use. And you'd have limited sustainability features in the 45. If you were to drop it to 40, it's everything that I listed above, plus no sustainability features, reduction, in addition to reduction of the materials, we'd also look at reducing the quality of the building systems. That would probably result in a shorter lifespan, more maintenance costs, greater life cycle costs overall. And then probable reduction in square footage to get to 40 million. So some of that planning for the future, you'd have to be cutting out, and you'd be back to what you're dealing with right now, where 10 to 12 years into the building, you're already out of room.
Question, Andrew, because I am looking at the $44 million budget that it was put together in July, and that one includes the $2.5 million in sustainable allowance, and it's there. No, here, this one, because there they say that the 45 million, they say it's kind of like assume that in the $45 million is the 2.5 is not there. You know what I mean? So, and I am looking at the one that you submitted in July and the one that you submitted the other day, and in the $44 million, it was already the $2.5 million sustainable. So,
Jared, do you want to take that or you want me to?
No, I can certainly jump in. So yes, Mayor, that is correct. The initial $45 million estimate did include $2.5 million of sustainability features. But what I will say is, that initial estimate that we produced was basically off some Excel documentation that basically described the space. Now we have a MEP narrative, we have exterior elevations, we have a site plan, we have a civil plan, we have utility plans. So there's been a lot of evolution. That initial estimate was just basically pure off of design narratives, if you will, and now we have much more substantial information to justify this budget that we presented to you today on.
So to kind of piggyback that, there's a very big jump between the programming phase and the schematic design phase as far as the available information to budget off of. And then from schematic design through design development into construction documents, all of those assumptions and clarifications, narratives, everything that were defined in schematic design then get molded and refined in those future phases to come up with the true project and kind of the instruction manual for the contractor as far as what they're building. So to see that jump from programming to schematic design is not unheard of because Jared and his team really in putting the budget together didn't have much to go on other than it's going to be about a 75,000 square foot building. Now they know what the components of that building are going to be.
And I would say specifically the mechanical, electrical, plumbing components. I mean, getting that design narrative, getting the elevations of, the mix of cast stone versus brick versus metal panels. And again, as I said, the utility plans, right? And the excavation, the site civil plans, it just gives us a whole lot more information to give you a very realistic number.
So that one is a question that now council we need to discuss this because practically what we have in front of us is it's a $50 million project. This is how we need to call it because I don't know how comfortable you see that maybe in 3 months you come to us and say when we need to put an amendment to the budget and they say, oh, it's not 50, it's 60 million. So this is one of my biggest concern is, so how sure that you are that this number that you sent to us last week are kind of like close to what this building is going to cost, or is it still an estimate?
Well, it's absolutely still an estimate. That's 100% for sure. Joe's got his hand up.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wants to ask his question now or I can continue this response, but I will tell you, Mayor, we still have a very hefty contingency and escalation percentage included in this budget to kind of account for any swings. If you look at it closely, it has been dialed back from the last budget that we gave you. And that is a direct result of the amount of information that we have in front of us to generate this new estimate. So I think as we continue through this process, you'll see that percentage decrease as the information increases. So I hope that kind of
so the one other piece of that I would give pause to is I heard some comments today, and I know we're presenting this to RCC in January. I again will go to that below the line, the sustainability options that are on the table. Those are all things that we've done in past projects and we can bring to Fitchburg, but you need to tell us are you comfortable with 2.5, or are there other boxes you want to check when it comes to sustainability? Because that 2.5, Jared, I think that covers geothermal and maybe one or two of the other smaller items.
Yeah, like envelope
Yeah.
reinforcing probably you could get for the 2.5 for sure,
but not
Not
infrastructure for future electric vehicles
Right.
and other building enhancements.
Agreed. I mean, but you could if you get rid of geothermal, you could really go after solar. So I mean, it's kind of up to the group. What's the priority?
Yeah, so this is something that, I don't know, RCC can recommend us in your January meeting because they are practically the expert on this. So, Joe, do you have a question?
Yes. I don't know if it's the right time or not, but so thank you for the presentation. I'm not going to make lengthy statements. I'm just going to hit on a couple things that I noticed. One, I appreciate the thoroughness of the presentation. And when the council was asked kind of what we all think, my thoughts aren't necessarily that I'm opposed to the training bay, just that I feel like I need to learn more about it because this is, I think, the first comprehensive look that we're being presented on it. I guess the biggest disappointment that I have so far is the limited community engagement. And rarely did Tom Clowder and I agree on anything when we were on council, but I do agree with his assessment that there needs to be a series of community engagements, not just one. And I think the timing of it wasn't great. It happened in the week following Thanksgiving. Also, I think that several community engagements need to happen in several districts so that the public can truly understand this and have an opportunity to weigh in, because there's 8 of us, and while we're elected to, by our constituents, I think it's fair that this project, as big as it is and expensive as it is and as comprehensive as it is and as long lasting as it is, needs to really be scrutinized by the public. So that is my biggest concern. I hear the need for more access to training, but I also understand that with Dane County, which is creeping up on 1 million, and Madison, which is, or 500,000, and Madison, which is 270 something thousand people, cities that big and county that big, definitely warrants it. But we're, I think, the 3rd largest municipality, and we're not even anywhere close to the size of Madison. So I just think that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to be more intentional, and it's okay to do a greater amount of community engagement, because I think the community really deserves it. We've gotten a limited number of emails from constituents on this issue. I know we've gotten some engagement, but that just is a signal to me that we haven't done enough engagement. And I think that's really, really important before we, I want to use a phrase other than pull the trigger, before we move forward on authorizing such a large expense and a large investment, because it is an investment. And I agree with the rest of the council that it is important. Training is important. Thinking about how our officers use force is incredibly important, and I agree with all of those things. But I think we really need to have a greater amount of scrutiny. And the last thing I'll just say is I appreciate the fact that there's multiple options being laid out here, because is what the council asked for. I just think it needs to be done to a greater extent and broader than just council, which some people watch, but it needs to happen in other settings.
Okay, who has more? I don't know, but let me ask, Andrew, do you have more slide to show?
No, we're to the Q&A portion, so.
can you put back the slide with the options? We want to keep that on the screen. Thank you. Okay, so now, Council, I need what?
I just want to add one comment because if you go back on your emails, and I don't want to bring this point up, but we have been trying to engage in community since the beginning of the year. That's one thing we boasted, that we're doing community meetings. We were talking about the three top issues with law enforcement: the police facility, recruiting and retention, and increasing our staffing size for the city. Those were the three topics. Although this may have been talking as far as what we have for design, we have taken a roadshow within every Alder district in the city of Fitchburg. We have done more than one in that location. As I indicated in one-on-ones with different alders, I've even offered to go door to door, community walks with you, to discuss any topics that we wanted to. So we're not hiding this. We're trying to expose it as much as possible. But at the same time, I ask you as alders to take me up on the offer. If you want me to go to your community, I'll do it. If you want to talk to your group, I'll do it. What I found in Fitchburg is if the police call for a meeting, it's a good thing. Not many people show up. That means there's not many problems going on. That's great. What I did find is in areas where we do find a large crowd to discuss this to, it's in organizations like condo associations, apartment associations, neighborhood associations. If you can connect us to associations where there's going to be a substantive amount of group, not 8 alders and 10 cops and things like that, but actual community people who live there, we'd love to talk to them. We're not hiding from that, and we'll ask you to help us outreach to people within your community. Invite us to a meeting where you know there's going to be a substantive number of people, and we'll be there.
So I want to follow up what you said, because I remember when Paul and you were organizing the first community meeting, I told you guys, one meeting is not going to be enough. It will be nice if we have one meeting in the east part of the city and one part in the west part of the city and one in the central. And also I mentioned that we need to go where the people is, and I think that I made that clear, okay? And also I know that you have been doing your monthly meeting and all of that, but we never told the people, hey, by the way, we are doing a police station and it's going to cost $50 million. Or it's going to look like that, We told them, yeah, we are in the process to build a new police station, we are in the process, but we never, you in those meetings, because I attended some of your meetings, we never mentioned to them, this is how it's going to look, and this is how big it's going to be, and this is how much it's going to be, because we didn't have that information at that time. But now that we have information, I think we have the obligation and responsibility to go to different parts of the city and say, okay, so we have an idea what we want, and we know how much it's going to cost. Here it is. Because I want to tell you, we received another piece of information that all of you received today from Misty is, how much the police also is going to impact, the increases in taxes next year, according to we will go to a 35 million, 40, 45, or 50. How much is going to be the principal and interest, and how much is translated to annual taxes. You know what I mean? So that one is another important piece of information that we need to share with the resident, because at the end of the day, they're going to say, okay, 50 million, what does it mean to my pocket at the end of the year when I need to pay my taxes? It's going to be, if you have an average home, it's going to be another $280 more additional a year. You know what I mean? So this is how I think now we have more information that we need to share with the public. We need to share this with the public. And I agree with, to be honest, I agree with Tom too. Tom made a very good point today that we need to inform the community because they know about this project, but they don't know the details and how much, you know what I mean? And as a mayor, I am fully, I need to be comfortable that we did a good did a good outreach to the resident about this project. Because then I don't want in 2 or 3 months when we put an amendment to the budget for, I don't know, $15 million that we need, I have 200 people here and I say, why? You know what I mean? You never told us about that. We don't know about that, you know? And to avoid that is, I think we need to do that job of, you know, educating our residents about, yes, this is a priority for the city, and this is how much it's going to cost. It's like the referendum for the school, you know, like people are receiving now the bill, and some people in the Verona, Oregon, you know, area are receiving, I say, wow, well, but, you know, you approve a referendum, you know what I mean? So you knew. So that one is this is my, you know, my concern also, because the other thing that I need to think, and we need to think too, is we are going to a referendum next year, okay? And so that referendum is going to be another $250 a year more in taxes. So there we already have a, you know what I mean? So we need to be ready that we need to, you know, because we are going to need to tell the resident, you know, we are building this, and this is how much it's going to cost. We are going to a referendum, because we need to go to a referendum no matter what, because it's not only we need to hire police officers, we need to have firefighter, we need to hire more people inside City Hall. You know, we have other priority too. So that one is, I want to find a solution that a number where everyone is going to be comfortable. Gabriela.
I think having the numbers is really helpful and seeing it laid out like this. And actually, the previous slide that you showed, where it showed like what the today's dollars would be with that original estimate, that's really helpful for me too, because like the original estimate, I've been hearing 23 million, but in today's dollars, that's 37 million. So like that's a really helpful baseline for me in terms of understanding how the inflation has happened over time. And so like for me, it's like, this is a $40 million minimum facility. So then like every $1 million on top of that, I want to make sure that it's making the community safer, making our officers, their jobs easier or better, and also that it's creating savings and operating costs going forward. So things like energy cost savings and electric vehicles. I mean, I think you spend over $100,000 on fuel every year, like minimum, probably more than that. So, you know, anything that we add on the budget that is going to reduce the operating costs annually is worth the money in this short term, because it's going to save us money in the long term. So the sustainability features feel absolutely essential to me. And if it costs more to add infrastructure for potential electric vehicles in the future, I think that's worth every penny, because that's going to save us money down the line. But having these numbers, I think now is the right time for community engagement, right? Because we have to build a facility. I finally heard enough information to say, this is a minimum of $40 million facility. I get it now. Like that makes sense to me now. And then everything on top of it, I have information I need where I can talk to people about why I think it should be that way. So like I have the information now. I feel like I have a lot more questions, I think, over time, but I feel like I understand now how to make the argument to my constituents about why it costs this money. And I have a sense of what I would want to spend, like I said, with sustainability features, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a helpful point in time where we can do the community engagement, because we can say, this is going to cost $45 to $50 million. Come find out more about this. This is your city. This is a huge expense. This is the biggest thing we've maybe ever done. And that is like the headline that's going to get people to pay attention. Mm-hmm. And I understand that it's not like, we want community engagement, but it's not, for me, it's not yes or no, the facility. It's, you know, what does the facility look like, and explaining it to people and justifying it to people. That's where I'm at for it. So I think the more the better. And I don't think it's just on the police department. This is a city-wide project. The space in the police department is needed for City Hall too, because we have more staff. So it's not just on the police department. And I don't think it should only be on you to do community engagement. I think it has to be a broader effort. So I acknowledge that you have done a lot of lift, and it's not just a police department project. It's citywide. So there's a way for us to do that. Then my one more question, though, is like, in terms of the grant funding that you're looking into, how much potential dollars are there for grant funding?
Well, the original language of the act that was passed earlier this year, there was notation in that there was a $4 million cap on any project request. However, I'm still doing my due diligence to find out whether or not the governor vetoed that amount. And I would be requesting, if that was vetoed, I'd be requesting up to $10 million for this project.
And is there any chance of like
Joe
looking
first
into
and then-
innovation
okay.
fund money? Because if we're creating a facility that can be used regionally, is that something that we can, I don't know.
Chad can probably speak to
Maybe that's not a real.
It could be possible. We're still waiting for the state to announce what the
What it
criteria
means.
is. That was expected back in November, and we're closing in on January here pretty quick. So we're all waiting. Many municipalities, we've been talking. When are the rules coming out?
Okay. Thank you.
Joe and then Jay.
Yeah. The other thing I was wondering, maybe it was addressed or talked about. I'm sorry if I missed it, but what would the potential revenue be for the training facility if other municipalities were to use it? Because I'm imagining it must be something that other departments would tap into.
So as of today, our police department budgets we spend roughly $12,000 annually to use both Madison and Dane County. And what the chief had mentioned earlier is we will be seeking the support of other municipalities, especially for the grant application. So now whether or not we would be seeing $12,000 from every municipality that would be using our facility, day one, walking out into the facility is probably not possible. But through time, we could potentially see upwards of $40,000 to $50,000 annually from other municipalities, other federal agencies, other community groups that would be potentially renting out the training bay, the DAT facility, the community and training rooms.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Ed.
And if I could just add one more thing, I had a separate question. Just in regards to like community engagement, I mean, I know when we've been consulting our the potential of having a firm to help us do a referendum, right? That's going to involve a lot of public relations. I just think given the size of this investment, it should be, proportional to what our investment is. And I agree with Gabriella that it shouldn't just be on the police department to do that. But I really think like there needs to be some broad public understanding in a way that's really simple and pared down, like some of these graphics that the average, resident can really easily digest. And, again, it should be repetitive, not just, and it shouldn't necessarily just be like have us get in touch with our community groups. It should be something that's broad. It should be in the Fitchburg Star. It should be on Fact TV. It should be, on the website, potentially some sort of a short video, like something that just makes it simple and comprehensive and understanding of like, this is what it is. These are the different options. This is the cost. This is the benefit. And I'm no expert in any of that, but again, I'm just going to reemphasize that I think it needs to be broad for given the investment that it is.
Jay, do you have a question?
No.
No? No, but you said, okay. You had your hand up. Yeah, I am not crazy. You raised your hand. Okay, so. He had his hand. You forgot. Okay, so my other comment is, I have two comments that I want to ask the council, because I think the engineers and the architect, they need to know something about, what is the number that we feel comfortable. They need to have, isn't it, to move to the next level? So I want to ask you again.
It would be helpful, yeah.
It will be helpful that you tell us what is your comfort zone, millions, that you feel comfortable with this. So, okay, can we start, I would like to hear from everyone. Randy. What is your range? You're feeling, you're okay with 40 million, 45 to 50, where, because they need to.
Are you looking for a range?
Yeah.
45 to 49? I'm comfortable with that. Given what's been presented, yes.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, I'm the same, between 45 and 49.
49, okay.
I'm the same.
Okay.
Well, I might as well be the same.
Oh my God, okay.
Yeah, I would say the same, but I also on the higher end is sometimes if that includes more sustainability features, honestly that saves us operating costs down the line, and so big picture, I think that's worth it. And it's crazy to me that I'm saying this, but that's how good this presentation is and how clear this presentation is that I'm like, okay, maybe it's a $50 million facility, but that's where I am.
Bill.
Why are you making a freshman talk like this? I don't know. I mean, this is a lot. I mean, there's no two ways about it. You guys have been here longer than me. Has there ever been a project more expensive than this in the history of Fitchburg?
No.
And
in my 8 years, no. This is the first one.
Yeah. I don't know. And I guess, we're seeing these budget options, and what we haven't seen is, without reduction in quality, how many square feet can we get at each of these dollar figures, which is something I would be very interested in learning. I mean, if you're asking what I'm comfortable with, is the smaller number is obviously better, but I don't know.
Okay.
I can't see going over 45.
Dave and Joe?
I would, I think knowing my nature, I told you I'm not comfortable with these big numbers at all, to be honest, but I see the need in the same range at 45 to 50. It pains me, but, that's what we need to do. It troubles me, but that's what things cost,
Joe?
Yeah, I'll say if there's a potential option of the 40 plus the 2.5 for sustainability features, that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. So the other thing that I want to tell you is this is phase one of the big project. The phase two is that we also need to think, and it's going to come in the next CIP, is the renovation of this city hall. Okay? So you need to think about this too, you know what I mean? Because when the police department moved to the new building, we need to renovate downstairs and some of the upstairs too. So that one is another project that's going to come to you, and it's going to be another couple of millions, okay? But so this is what I want you to tell you about this phase two that is coming to after we are done with them, because it's part of the deal, you know what I mean? It's part of, we need to renovate the empty space so we can accommodate the growth and move people from downstairs or whatever it is, downstairs. So it's going to be another, maybe, I don't know, suppose we say $5-6 more million, isn't it? Maybe? I don't know.
We'll look in advance of next CIP process to get an estimate put together. We do have a placeholder in the CIP currently, really to identify that this project was necessary, phase two, as the mayor has referred to it as, but there's really a wholly inadequate budget that was identified as a placeholder, so we'll be looking to update that.
Okay, so the thing that we can, I think we can agree on this meeting tonight is that the council wants more outreach meetings, okay? They are okay with the training facility, and they feel comfortable between 45 and 49 million. That is, it's too many millions, so, you know what I mean? So, but this is the council, okay? You agree on that, okay? Jay?
Actually, I remembered what I wanted to
Oh,
mention
okay.
earlier. You had that memo from Misty
Yeah.
that I don't think the rest of us got.
Yeah.
It came
Chad
from
sent it
Chad.
today.
It was prepared just yesterday, and I sent it out this afternoon.
Oh.
It was sent this afternoon.
I know you and others have other commitments during the day, so
Yeah.
ideally we have that stuff sooner, but unfortunately we weren't able to get it out sooner. So, but it is all in everyone's email inbox.
It's from you?
Yeah, from Chad.
Yep, came from
Okay.
me, but Misty prepared it.
Well, then it must be reliable.
Agreed.
So,
Question about the.
okay, Gabriela.
I just have a question about the process in terms of what's next, because obviously we have to take a vote on the schematic design, but is that going to be a direct referral the first meeting in January, or are we going to refer it out? Because I'm more comfortable with the referral because then there's more public notice about what we're voting on, but I obviously understand that there's a timeline involved. But like I said, the public engagement is important and people knowing what this costs and having an opportunity to weigh in. So what is the plan? What are the options? Are we looking at a direct referral?
I want to mention now that
Okay.
the resolution that I removed from the agenda from today was a direct referral. So it means that resolution was planning to come in January. So we are not delaying anything. Like some people are saying that we are delaying the process. No. Originally, that resolution was planning to come in January. We move it to a direct referral, but then because, the cost and some other question that you have, I don't feel comfortable that you guys were in a position that you need to vote for something that you don't feel comfortable yet. So this is why. Maybe that resolution, the only thing that I will ask is you can split the resolution and be a resolution for the schematic design and have another resolution totally separate from an amendment to the budget, instead of having one and two. You know what I mean?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, are you open to a direct referral of the schematic design as one resolution and a second resolution with the budget amendment moving forward for January 9th? And what I could do, I could certainly talk with the police department. I know they have a website that's been created specifically for this project. We can ensure that all of the documents that have been shared with the council in the last week, less than a week, are all added by the end of this week to that website so that the public could have additional time to take a look at all of the same materials that you have seen today, in addition to obviously when it would be posted fully on the agenda for January 9th potential direct referral.
And then we would like to see a plan with outreach, if we can have, in January we can have another community meeting, and February another community meeting, you know what I mean? Now that we have kind of like we know what we want to do, if we share with the community.
So one question regarding the community outreach, because I don't want to have to go back to the well every time for community outreach to say, well, we didn't do it here, we didn't do enough here. I would encourage every one of the council members to send an email to us, reach out to the police department to kind of display what your vision is regarding what would be sufficient community outreach in your opinion, so we don't miss the mark, so we don't have to say, well, we tried that and it wasn't enough, or we didn't get the amount of people at the meetings that you actually want there to engage. If we have these community meetings and community outreach and there's still only 5 people there, is that going to be enough, even though we've been trying, we are trying, and we want to try? But if we can't get the people there, what's going to be enough?
But Matt, I understand, but also when people come to us in the future and say you didn't do anything, we say, no, we did a meeting. You didn't show up. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? You know what I mean? So,
but I want your vision as a council and as a mayor, because this is a city project, not a police department project, to provide us with a little bit of guidance of what you as the elected officials would like to see in this community outreach, not from what the police department's going to do.
It should be, because we have already an idea how much it's going to cost and we have the design. It's going to be more like an open house. You're saying, Now you can say the city's building a $50 million police. You're going to attract people. People are going to be curious. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
If that's we can do that if that's
Peter?
all you are going to want. I know Alder Maldonado said about publishing this in the Fitchburg Star, making a video.
Yeah.
What elements are people going to want to see from this community outreach? We want to provide the information, but it has to be from all of us, not just from the police department.
No, yeah, we know that.
Is there a way to support that? I mean, like, you guys are overworked. I know you're doing a lot of work on this. It's like extra work, but like it just can't be only on them, I guess. Is there a way that we can? Is there other staff that we can pull in that can help with this effort?
We can sit down and have that conversation and see what other city hall staff could potentially help with some outreach efforts. Absolutely.
Can we hire I remember when we did the reconstruction for Fish Hatchery, we have, well, I don't know, maybe it's too late now, but we hired an outreach and a public relation company that they did all the outreach for us. You know what I mean? I don't know if that when we are late now to do that, but if we don't have the capacity inside City Hall and they don't have the capacity, how we can.
I'm not saying we don't have the capacity. What I'm saying is we know how to deliver a message from the police department. This is our forte. We interact with the public on a daily basis. What I'm saying is what's going to be sufficient enough from the elected officials to say we've done as a city enough. And we're happy to spearhead that effort because that's what we do and that's what we've been doing. But we want to hear from all of you what is going to be that amount that's going to be sufficient that you can say to your constituents, we've done all of this.
Yeah, I would say me particularly, I envision that maybe we should have, one meeting, open house in the east part of the city. We can do it in the Latino Chamber of Commerce or one of the church there. We can do another one in the east part, in the fire station inside, in that area, and invite all those neighborhoods from that area. Maybe we already did one here in the north part. You know what I mean? And then do kind of like an open house. Bring with all our design, talk about the cost. This is what why we are doing this, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It's so the public can come see and also ask questions. And maybe can say, I don't know. This is how we envision. I don't know how you guys think about it.
Well, instead of taking up more time, just present that information to us so we can start developing it. Yeah, and I appreciate your opinion, but there's 8 other members that have opinions.
But this is what I say. This is what I ask you guys if you have any other options so you can communicate with them.
Well, my opinion is this. I agree with Matt because we've been in this council, and all of a sudden the decision needs to be made. And I won't go into one of the decisions. All of a sudden you come back. Well, you didn't do this. They didn't have internet. They didn't do. So I get his frustration, and I'm just going to put it out there. Okay. And it's all of our responsibility. It is something the individual alder want. Oh my God, we could get some people out there and get the word out. And so I just want to make it clear, I don't know if this is what you were thinking, but we have done this before when people don't want something or whatever, all of a sudden, they present something, oh, you didn't do enough. So I appreciate that he's just putting it up front, and I'm just reinforcing it.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So anything else? No. Any other comments? This is your opportunity. Did we answer all the questions that we have in the emails? For the Andrew and Jared, do you have any question? Do you have any idea what we want now?
Yeah, I think we have a general direction. I think there are still some questions. I think RCC will probably help with some of the sustainability pieces. But yeah, I think that budget range kind of gives us a good sense of where you guys are thinking and where we should be going.
Okay, Bill, do you have your?
Yeah, Andrew, earlier you said that the building as laid out in the 2015 space needs assessment would not be considered modern by today's standards.
a modern police facility.
Right.
The assumptions they made in creating that budget basically gave you a single story city hall or office building.
Yeah. So I guess I'm asking you to get out your crystal ball and look in the future 9 or 10 years and at this design. How confident are you that this is a much better design than the one that we saw in the 2015 study?
Well, I don't know how they broke down the square footage, but as far as the systems that we're putting into this building, these are, very robust, specific to police types of systems, from the AV to electrical, mechanical, all of it. And on top of that, we're making sure we're taking a hard look at what the current needs of the police department are, as well as the future needs, and doing our best to accommodate all of those without breaking the bank, but knowing that we're going to need some future office spaces in some key locations. There's going to be additional police officers on patrol hired. So, having the additional locker room space, things like that. But then also looking at some of the trends as far as health, wellness, fitness, training, and making sure that we're putting all of that into the base of this building as well.
Okay, so I guess what I'm hearing is that the 2015 study had some deficiencies that could have been recognized as deficiencies at the time, and this current design, you're saying, is best practices, and that it should stand the test of time better than the previous design.
Correct. Yeah, this will be a purpose-built police facility.
Okay, so
Seeing that it is 11 o'clock, I will move that we extend the meeting by a half hour.
Second.
all those in favor of extending, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
You didn't take any no votes?
Okay. No. So, okay, so I think it's 11 o'clock, so we need to move. We have other business in the agenda. So thank you very much. It was a good conversation, you know what I mean? So thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Paul. So I think if we at least we know where, I think we have a better idea now. Okay, so that one is good. Was a good conversation. It's a difficult one. It's a very expensive project, yes, but, this is what it is. So, okay, so thank you, guys.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you for your service. And if I don't get to see any of you within the next couple of weeks, may you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. God bless you.
Gracias. Okay. Okay, so next we are on standing committees, Finance Committee. Randy, do you have anything else to add?
No, I have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Personnel Committee.
We met last week. They presented the work groups presented the city's mission, vision, and core values, which are fantastic. I was going to share them, but for the sake of time, I'll just say what our core values are, or the staff's core values: accountability, innovation, service, teamwork. They did a fantastic job. I'd recommend everyone read what they put together. We also did a whole bunch of employee handbook updates based on both, updates that were needed, were realized that were needed, and also based on the budget, the changes in the budget. So we did that, and they included the update to the paid parental leave policy, which is pretty significant. And then the new positions that we included in the budget, those position descriptions are being worked on. The consultant couldn't do it right away, so we're going to look at those in February. So those positions won't be posted until February at the earliest.
There is cake there, okay, guys? If you want to, we need to eat the cake. No. Okay, so thank you, Gabriela. So next we move to Public Safety and Human Services.
So I'll move approval of Resolution R 225-23, appointment of Humane Officer, Public Safety and Human Services.
Second.
Okay, so what is this? Oh, Matt, you want your
I'll try to make it as speedy as possible. Currently, we have a community service officer, Brianna McCauley. She's been employed with the police department since November of 2022. She recently attended a humane officer class, which focuses on allowing a non-sworn position, and in some cases there's sworn officers in other jurisdictions that can do this, but since one of their core functions as a CSO is to handle animal complaints, that puts them at the forefront of identifying any cruelty, neglect issues, gives them the opportunity to investigate those complaints, and through state statute, the governing body of the municipality where you would have a humane officer has to appoint that person as a humane officer in order to be recognized by the state and allows that person to investigate those animal cases. So that would be up to all of you to appoint Brianna to a humane officer position.
Any question, comment? No? All those in favor of resolution R-22523 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carried. Okay, thank you. So next one.
I'll move approval of operator license needing special attention for James Wright.
Second.
Okay.
So this was a required special attention. He'd had an OWI, so this is flagged. We reviewed it. He's completed his alcohol assessment. He wants operator license. He works at Kelly Williamson. So we approved this tonight. He came to the meeting to present his case.
Okay. Do we need to approve this? Yeah. So do we need a resolution? Okay. All those in favor of approving this operator license, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. So next we move to new business. We have a couple of direct referral because it's our last meeting of the year. So who is going to do this resolution?
I'll move approval of resolution R21223, appointing election inspectors for years 2024 and 2025.
Second.
Okay, so Tracy, do you want to talk about this or no? Chad? Okay.
So each year, let me just pull up the referral sheet here. Each year, every 2 years, I believe it is. Hang on one second. So yes, every 2 years, we're required to appoint election inspectors. So this will cover years 2024 and 2025. The deadline for political parties to have submitted nominees for election inspectors was November 30th, 2023. Names have been provided by both the Democratic and Republican parties and have been added as required by State Statute 7.30, parent 4, parent B. And in addition to these nominations, the mayor is responsible for nominating no later than the last council meeting in December a list of qualified elections officials. The city has trained 221 trained election inspectors and 14 trained chief inspectors.
Okay. Any questions? All those in favor of resolution R-21223 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. So next one is a
I'll
finance
move approval of resolution R23123, a resolution to approve a contract with Dane County to accept 2024 Neighborhood Navigator funding.
Second.
Okay, so Diana is here. She wait for so.
With the proposal to approve the contract for the Neighborhood Navigator program. The city has had the Neighborhood Navigator program through Dane County since 2019, and there's been a small bump in the pay for the Neighborhood Navigator. So with approval of this contract, we can proceed to 2024's Neighborhood Navigator program and hopefully hire 2 Neighborhood Navigators.
Okay, any other question, comment?
The Finance Committee approved.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you, Randy.
And we talked in Finance Committee, the salary for the neighborhood navigators is $17.77 per hour.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-231-23 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carry. Next
I will
one.
move approval of Resolution R-236-23, approving a contract for Verona Road West Neighborhood Teen Services and Resource Facility Feasibility Study Phase 2.
This one is a finance committee, so, okay. Okay,
Second.
so did finance committee approve?
Finance Committee approved.
Okay. Do you want to do?
I can start this. The City Council has authorized funding as it relates to the Phase 2 feasibility study for the potential teen center, currently identified as being west of Verona Road. The city put out an RFP requesting proposals to complete this phase of the feasibility study. The city received one proposal from EQT by Design, along with Hope Community Capital and JLA Architects. The city staff has reviewed that proposal and negotiated a contract with EQT by Design. The contract has been reviewed not only by staff but also the city attorney, and has also been signed by EQT by Design already. This resolution does also include a budget amendment to cover the entire cost of the estimated Phase 2, which is $50,000. Right now, staff is proposing to use $20,000 that was budgeted for Hub Phase 2 planning that could be identified to cover this additional cost for the Phase 2. However, it is important to point out that, as was discussed at the most recent council meeting, Dane County, in their most recent budget, approved a $1 million budget amendment to be utilized to help support the feasibility and ultimate, perhaps, construction of a teen center here in Fitchburg. $75,000 of that $1 million was identified for the feasibility portion. Deanna has already reached out to Dane County staff to better understand how we can capture some of that funding for this project. So it is ultimately possible that you will see a forthcoming budget amendment to ideally utilize $20,000 of that feasibility money from Dane County to replace the hub money that's being allocated at this point in time, and we'd move that money back towards the hub. So that's it in a nutshell. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Deanna?
Very well, thank you.
Thanks.
This one we need a simple majority. So any question, comments? No? All those in favor of resolution R-236-23, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Okay, thank you. So next one is a finance committee. Randy.
All right. I move to approve Resolution R-237-23, amending the 2023 Grants Donation Fund Budget. PD, bounce back grant purchases.
Second.
Did finance committee approve?
Finance Committee approved.
Thank you. So do you want to explain?
Sure. Resolution R-51-23 approved this back in March of 2023 and included a budget amendment needed to carry over certain projects from 22 to 2023. The police department's use of bounce back grants funds for e-bikes was inadvertently excluded from the list, and the bounce back training funds carryover was erroneously labeled as e-bikes. So as a result, there is not sufficient budget authority to fully utilize the remaining bounce back grant funding. This resolution reapproves the 2022 carryover project to correct the clerical mistake and gives staff the authority to spend the remaining grant funding.
Those darn clerics.
Okay, so do you understand what we're doing? Okay. Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So, Misty, do you want to add anything else because you have been waiting? No?
No, Randy did great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we need 2/3 vote. So, I'm going to ask roll call because it's 2/3. So, I want to be consistent. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Allen?
You betcha.
Alder Gerhart?
Aye.
Alder Herbst?
Aye.
Alder Jetzer?
Aye.
Alder Maldonado?
Aye.
Alder Strassman,
Aye.
Alder Udell,
Aye.
Alder Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next one, Randy.
Yes. Motion to approve Resolution R-238-23, adopting the schedule to update the ARPA/TID closure investment plan.
Second.
Okay, so did Finance Committee approve?
Finance Committee approved.
So what is this?
All right. The resolution establishes the timeline to update the ARPA-TID closure investment plan that was first adopted in 2022. The proposed process allows a similar process to the CIP update schedule. The intention of this investment plan is to identify the top-tier priorities of the council and direct staff to explore the projects identified further. Any project included in an adopted investment plan may require the further research or council approvals to implement.
Any question, comments? We are going to do something similar what we did last year, but we don't need to have a special meeting because what is left is
correct.
It's smaller than we don't have too many projects in the pipeline or money. So, okay. All those in favor of resolution R-238-23 say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. So next we move to the mayor's report, and always, we are running out of time. The other thing that I want to say is, I have a couple of things. As Chad mentioned, we had employee appreciation luncheon on. I hope you can make it on Thursday, 11:30. And then most of the residents received the bill, the property bill, and I received mine too, and I am very proud that, I want to say congratulations to all of us because we did a good job. Our increase compared to the other one is 0.01%. In my tax bill is $30 more than that last year, the city's portion. So I think that one is, we should be when applying, because there is a lot of people and comment on Facebook about the property tax. We need to inform our resident that our portion is, it came similar to last year. So that one is something that, I feel very good, for what we did with our budget. So a couple of other things is, I have a lot of meeting with business owner, with neighbors, future people that want to invest in the city. I also there is I don't know, in District 3 there is a possible. I met with one of the developers that they are trying to meet with you, Jay and Shannon, and you can follow up with him, please. And then, so what else? Oh, I forgot. There is other. We met with Oregon today, the village of Oregon. Something that we are planning to do in February. That we want to share with you in the month of February. A project, and then the other thing I want to mention is going to be what is this? The Santa Claus is coming to the fire station number 1 on when is December 16th. So the fire station on Lacey on Saturday evening from 6 to 9. Santa will be there with a treat for the kids. I think there is going to be a lot of decoration, the vehicle, the fire station. So 6 to 9 on Saturday, bring your kids to fire station number 1, the one on Lacey. Santa is going to be there. What else? Well, I have more stuff, but I don't have time. But they also want to say, this is our last meeting. I want to say happy holiday to all of you. And 2024 is going to be a very intense year for us as council members, and with a lot of project opportunity and challenges. So I hope that you recharge your batteries during the next break, because it's going to be a very, very intense year, a good year, with a lot of challenge and opportunity. Okay, so all the district reports. I'm going to start with 4.
Nothing to report.
Did the ribbon cutting for Jersey Mike's, so it's
Oh, yeah.
fully open now. It was a good time had by all. Then we had the neighborhood meeting for the Greenfield and Stone Prairie comp plan. And it was very interesting for Greenfield, the generational divide, how most of the people who were older and more wise didn't want any change, and the younger person who had a lot of courage to stand up and said, I want a lot of development.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting process.
Yeah. And what about the Monday night? Hillside.
Who?
Hillside. The park meeting.
Oh, you would have? Go ahead. Oh, Hillside Park, we had a meeting. I got to give Chad credit. He was very forthcoming and said we made a mistake by moving equipment without asking the residents. They were presented with 2 options, and basically it comes down to just moving the equipment back to around the area where it was. But they were very appreciative. They sent an email today, saying how appreciative they were. But I give Chad a lot of credit for basically being straightforward and said we made a mistake.
Yeah. Okay. Shannon?
No report.
Jay?
I got nothing.
Okay. District 2?
The Inventure Capital donation of that obstacle course equipment in McKee Farms Park is now being installed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
go check it out. It's pretty cool. I can't remember if anyone said this, but the Holiday Light Tour is December 15th to 17th.
Yeah.
Apologies, that's a repeat. And then just wanted to say thanks to the council for a really great year. I thought we had a lot of productive conversations and really like a wonderful, respectful environment. So thanks to all my fellow council members for like a really great year, and hope you all have a great holiday season.
Not much to add, I guess, other than also in McKee Farms Park, the basketball court, the parking lot are repaved. So
And also want to say happy birthday, Bill, okay?
thank you, Ms. Mayor. Happy birthday to you as well.
Oh, thank you. Okay, District 1, Joe and David.
No report other than today my son got his driver's license, so please watch out for the roads.
Congratulations.
Please watch out, I love it. Dave?
Just 3 quick things. I want to thank Administrator Brecklin and Tim. We had a number of residents that Pelletieri didn't get their leaves, and they made them come back out and get them. And I want to thank the police. There were two cases in the area. One, there was the vandalism up in Seminole Hills, and then the case I think you recall with the guy that was putting the cord across the bridge on the Badger Trail. They solved, both of those were solved, and the person was charged. The bicycle one, he pled guilty, and the other one, he's been charged. He's been charged in court. So thank you to the police for getting to the bottom of both of those. And happy holidays and a good new year to all of you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I add one more thing Dave just reminded me of? I just want to give a special shout out to Ross. He did a great job kind of fielding some concerns that neighbors had about the repaving of the roads in the Duns Marsh neighborhood. So he was just really responsive and comprehensive in his answers to residents who were a little bit upset.
Okay, good to know. Okay, thank you. And then announcement is the next Common Council meeting will be January 9th. Next Committee of the Whole meeting is going to be January 24th. So I need
Move for adjournment.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of a second, I think.
Everyone seconded.
All those in favor of adjourned the meeting, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So we are adjourning at 11:22. Thank you.
Feliz Navidad.